Chapter 864 Acquire Star Sand. Chapter 864 Acquire Star Sand. The red-clothed woman saw Yemo take the spirit stones and smiled contemptuously. She was just about to mock Yemo when the dark-faced young man said, "Sir, since this big brother doesn't want the top-grade room, can you give it to us?" The waiter had no objections. He gave the top-grade room to the man and woman. Seeing Yemo leave, the woman scorned, "Poor piece of sh*t. How can you even dream about staying at the top-grade room?" Yemo heard this but pretended he hadn't. He didn't even want to look back. Meanwhile, that dark-faced man shook his head helplessly. The woman saw this and cursed. "You, why are you shaking your head? If you don't want to be with me, then P*SS off." The man carefully replied, "Haydn, Uncle said that there are many masters in the cultivation realm. We should try not to offend people outside." Humph. The woman went into the room and ignored the young man. Although it was a low-grade room, Yemo was very satisfied. It didn't have a spirit-gathering formation, but it had everything else. It still had quite plenty of spirit chi due to the nearby spirit-gathering formations. The 8 spirit stones were worth the money. Yemo immediately started to cultivate. He made a few more defense formations and took a few benefit essence pills. Yemo's power caused a big commotion. It formed a huge spirit chi swirl, but luckily, there were a lot of high-level cultivators in all the nearby hotels, and they all didn't want to waste time. So, although Yemo caused quite a commotion, it wasn't very eye-catching. 6 hours later, Yemo felt his meridians expand once again, and after a light crack, the cultivation essence in his body expanded like dividing cells. It was almost twice as strong as before, as it spread to all corners of Yemo's meridians before gathering at his dantian again. Yemo rejoiced. He had reached foundation, establishment state, middle stage. He took out tens of top-grade spirit stones without thought and started to use them for consolidation. He wouldn't mind if he had to take out all of his spirit stones for cultivation. Yemo felt that not only had he gotten back all the essence blood he had burnt, but his spirit senses range also could reach tens of kilometers more. Yemo got up and cleaned the dirt off his body. He no longer felt tired, so he used his spare time to take out 9 transformations. He simply spirit-controlled it and walked out of his room. Not far away, Yemo saw Yuruyu sitting at the doorway meditating. Without giving it too much thought, Yemo realized that it must have been that rude girl not letting him in. Yemo had a good impression of Yuruyu. Although that Haydn was pretty, she didn't deserve the dark-faced young man. "Brother Yu, if you don't mind, you can stay for the night at my place." Yemo walked up to Yuruyu and said. He had finished his cultivation and didn't have anything to do. Yuruyu saw that Yemo was walking over to him and talking. He couldn't pretend he didn't see Yemo anymore, so he got up awkwardly and said, "Big brother, hello, I appreciate your goodwill, but I can't." Yemo smiled and didn't try persuading Yuruyu. He was just about to leave when he heard Yuruyu ask, "Big brother, you're also here for the auction, right?" Yemo nodded. "Yes, I want to see if there is any star sand or segmented earth. And my name is Yemo. Just call me Yemo from now on." Yuruyu heard this and said in shock, "Top-grade star sand and segmented earth is very expendash." Yuruyu stopped halfway, realizing that some things weren't appropriate to say out loud. However, Yemo knew that the reason Yuruyu was so polite to him was primarily due to his character, but also due to the fact that Yuruyu couldn't tell how strong he was. Yemo laughed. "I don't need top grade, just ordinary ones." After thinking for a moment, Yuruyu suddenly pulled out a fist-sized and gave it to Yemo. "I randomly got this low-grade chunk of star sand. Do you have any use for it, brother Yi?" Yemo hadn't thought Yuruyu would have star sand. Even low-grade star sand wasn't easily found. Yemo grabbed the star sand and looked at it carefully. It was low-grade star sand indeed, and it wasn't big. However, it was enough for Yemo already. After confirming this, Yi-Mo quickly thanked him. "Thank you, brother Yu. This is what I want. Please name a price." Yu saw that he had given Yi-Mo what he needed, so he said happily, "Brother Yi, I got this by chance. It has no use for me. If you need it, just take it. No need to talk about money." Yi-Mo was dazed. He had only met Yu twice. They were just strangers. Why did he still choose to give him the star sand? Seeing this, Yu quickly said, "I have a good impression of Brother Yi, and your power is great. My companion offended Brother Yi, but Brother Yi didn't mind. So I want to give this to you. I hope you will take it." Yi-Mo realized that Yu couldn't see his power level. He thought that he was a golden core state cultivator. Haiden had cursed him, and Yi-Mo had heard it for sure, but he still didn't care about it. This made Yu very grateful. Yu seemed to want to connect with him. Yi-Mo heard this and quickly waved his hand. "Brother Yu, you might have seen wrong. My power level isn't as strong as yours. This piece of star sand is low grade, but it's still worth a lot. I don't feel comfortable taking it without paying you." Yu heard this and was shook. He was just at Foundation Establishment State Level 7, but he could see through Golden Core State Primary Stage cultivators. However, he couldn't see through Yi-Mo at all. He had to come from a big sect. Seeing that Yu wasn't going to take the spirit stones no matter what, Yi-Mo just accepted the star sand and took out 2 more chairs. He then started chatting with Yu. After introducing each other, Yi-Mo realized that Yu really had big background. He was the core disciple of a 5-star sect, the God Sword sect. His father was the previous sect leader and the current Grand Elder. Yi-Mo didn't ask about his father's power. It was at least nascent soul state peak or even hollow spirit state. Haiden came from the Duo Heart Valley, which also a 5-star sect. The parents of both parties had sent the 2 of them to the auction to also experience the world a bit. Yu came from a 5-star sect, but he was very polite and humble. This reminded Yi-Mo of the 5-star West Flow sect's young master, Shinjianxing. He was beyond cocky, and if they hadn't transmigrated, he and Luoing would have died in his hands. He even annihilated their sect. Yi-Mo had endless killing intent when thinking about Shinjianxing. "Yu, how can you be so shameless? Connecting with any random piece of trash. You're making me lose all my face." A crisp voice sounded. Haiden was standing at the door. Chapter 865. The Person Who Bought the Core Building Grass. Chapter 865. The person who bought the core building grass. The night had passed, lost in their conversation, and it was daytime. Yu heard Haidan's words and quickly said to Yi-Mo, "Sorry, Brother Yi." Yi-Mo smiled calmly. He wasn't going to care about what that woman said on Ryu's account. He waved his hand. "Brother Yu, as a friend, I'll give you a word of advice. There's plenty of fish in the sea." Then Yi-Mo turned away to leave. Yu understood this, and Haidan heard it too. But by the time she reacted, Yi-Mo had already left. Haidan's pretty face was red with anger. Although she looked down on Yu, her pride had been hurt being called not worth it. She couldn't exert her anger on Yi-Mo, so she kicked Yu on the chest. Yu didn't dare dodge and was kicked many meters away. He fell down the stairs. Yi-Mo saw this scene with his spirit sense and shook his head. Yi-Mo put on 9 transformations and changed into a middle-aged man before heading to the auction. The auction was quite busy indeed. The entrance was filled with people. There were no limitations, so you could go as long as you had spirit stones. The entrance fee was 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. People could sit anywhere they wanted, but 10,000 spirit stones was the price for a simple room, 100,000 spirit stones for a high-level room, and 300,000 for an extremely grand room. Yi-Mo simply spent 10,000 low-grade spirit stones for a simple room. The room was simple, but Yi-Mo was happy with it after going inside. It wasn't small, and one could see the auction board through the display formation. There was no room service, though. If you wanted a female cultivator to serve you, you needed to go to the 100,000 spirit stones rooms or higher. Yemo scanned his spirit sense out carefully and found that he could only see the people sitting in open space, but no one from the rooms. Yemo also found out that the higher level rooms had better spirit sense, shielding formations. Yemo immediately wondered whether he should make a better spirit sense, shielding formation. He had the skills and materials. Just at this moment, a strong spirit sense scanned into his room and went through him without any pause. The spirit sense was very strong. It was from an at least nascent soul state cultivator. However, from the way he scanned everyone's room without concern, Yemo could tell that this person could be at hollow spirit state already. Yemo didn't hesitate and started building a spirit sense shielding formation. He didn't want people scanning his room so easily. In about 15 minutes, Yemo finished a simple spirit sense shielding formation. This formation couldn't block hollow spirit state spirit senses, but together with the original formation of the room, it was enough to block nascent soul state spirit senses. The auction had started now, so Yemo had to stop making more formations. He had made up his mind to make some more formation discs in his spare time. With that, he could just take one out and use it, instead of working on everything from scratch. As soon as Yemo sat down, a few more spirit senses scanned over, but they were all blocked by his formation. It was as safe as a 300,000 spirit stones room now. A beautiful woman in her 30s got up on the stage and smiled at everyone. This auction is held by the Nanshan Market. You and Mingqianbei, as well as me, will be hosting the auction. I'm Lu Yan. I hope everyone can get what you want from this auction. We will be using middle-grade spirit stones for everything, so please make bids using middle-grade spirit stones. Okay, let's get started. Yemo noticed that the woman was at least at golden core state, tertiary stage. Yemo didn't dare study the two old men behind her. From their temperament, they were at least nascent soul state cultivators. The Nanshan Market was powerful indeed. Anyone could kill him easily. Yemo didn't scan other rooms because he knew there wouldn't be anyone weaker than him. Lu Yan knocked with the mace-like artifact and said, "Everyone, the first item of the day is gunmetal essence. The starting bid is 10,000 middle-grade spirit stones. Each increment must be no lower than 1,000. Lu Yuan raised the piece of gunmetal essence. It was the size of 2 fists. Yemo sighed. The one he had bought from the small world was the size of a basket, yet he had bought it with just some gold. Gunmetal essence had a wide variety of uses. It could be used to make spirit and magic artifacts. Soon, it was bought for 15,000 spirit stones. The next 2 items were spirit artifacts, both sold for more than 50,000 middle-grade spirit stones. Yemo realized that he was lucky to have found Li Chongqing's ring, or he wouldn't have been able to buy anything with his earnings. When a spirit grade level 2 cultivation method was sold for 500,000 spirit stones, the crowd was rowdy. Yemo realized that he had rejoiced too early. He only had about 2 million middle-grade spirit stones and 10 million low-grade spirit stones. That was more or less 3 million middle-grade spirit stones in value. Yemo could only hope that segmented earth wasn't too expensive, or he wouldn't be able to afford it. Now, we're going to auction one of the most sought items in this auction. You guessed it, the core building grass. Its starting price is 1 million. Each increment must be no less than 10,000. With this, the scene went wild. Yemo could only sigh. He couldn't fight for it at all. Core building grass was one of the main ingredients for the cultivation increasing pill. It was very rare. It was a level 5 spirit herb. The cultivation increasing pill was a pill for foundation establishment state, peak, cultivators to reach golden core state. There were few pills that could also do the same, but the cultivation increasing pill was undoubtedly one of the best. The only difficulty was that it required a level 7 spirit pill master to make it. There was only one level difference between spirit level 6 and 7, but some people would never be able to make this step in their entire lifetime. Yan Zheng was already very respectful to him for being a level 6 spirit pill master. If he knew that Yemo could make level 8 or even 9 pills, he would definitely treat Yemo significantly better. It was just a moment later, and the price had already raised to 5 million. Yemo didn't bid at all, knowing that he couldn't afford it. There were many Foundation Establishment State cultivators in this auction, but it was the Golden Core State cultivators or even the Nascent Soul State cultivators increasing the price. They weren't buying it for themselves, of course. If their sect or family had one more Golden Core State cultivator, their power would increase significantly. 2 million, a coarse voice sounded. Yemo reached out his spirit sense carefully and found that the person who had claimed this price also came from a low-priced room. Chapter 866, Not Enough Spirit Stones. Chapter 866, Not Enough Spirit Stones. Yemo could tell from the voice belonged to a woman. Yemo couldn't scan his spirit sense in, as it could shield Golden Core State spirit senses or lower. No one bid for the core building herb after such a huge rise, and the woman eventually got it. Yemo was regretful. If he had known that woman, perhaps he could have negotiated with her to make the cultivation increasing pill, and they could have gotten half-half. After the herb, the next few items were ordinary, so the audience gradually calmed down again. The next auctioned item is a stool of unknown origin. No one knows what this seat is made of. I can only tell it's something special. I hope the buyer is lucky. If anything goes wrong, the auction holder will not be responsible. The starting bid is 100,000 spirit stones. Each increment must be no less than 10,000. Lu Yao placed a stone stool on the table. It seemed difficult to handle and heavy. However, Yemo almost jumped up in excitement. The stone stool in his ring had started shaking as soon as Lu Yao took it out. He had found the stone stool in the small world. He got the first one from Master Tianze, who had left it behind accidentally. He still couldn't understand what it was. The audience fell silent. Even the nascent soul state cultivators weren't hustling to get their spirit stones out. No one wanted to spend 100,000 to buy something that they didn't know what it was. 110,000! Someone finally made a bid after the silence. 130,000. It seemed like someone was taking the lead, and it led to a round of biddings. 150,000. 170,000. It had just been a moment, but the price had already gone over the 200,000. Yemo was desperate. He knew he had to make a bid. 500,000. Yemo called. Yemo forgot that the more desperate he was, the more people would think this thing was relevant. 600,000, someone else bidded. Yemo was shook. He realized that there were too many wealthy people there. His wealth really wasn't anything compared to theirs. Even Yemo stopped. He could tell now wasn't the time to bid. He had to wait until the audience calmed down. Lu Yen hadn't expected the stone stool to reach this price. She smiled sweetly. This unknown stone stool has reached 600K. Someone must have realized this is some kind of treasure. Although I also want the bidder to tell us what it is. I know it's impossible. Yemo got furious at her when she suddenly said, "Okay, since one person recognized it, will a second person also recognize it? It's 600,000 now. Is there a higher price? There's only one opportunity." However, no one else made a bid, and the scene fell silent for a while. Lu Yen then said, "First time for 600,000. Any more bids?" Second time dash, someone called. 700,000. 750,000. 800,000. Soon, the new round of bids brought up the price to 1 million. Yemo didn't care that much about the herb from before, but he really cared about the stone stool. He believed it was very extraordinary. He would feel very regretful if he couldn't get it. The price stopped at 1 million. Lu Yao was very satisfied with her persuasive skills. Okay, 1 million, first time. Is there a higher price? If not, you'll be missing out on the fortune the stone stool may bring you. Lu Yao said. 1 million. Yi Mo calmed down and said, 2 million, the previous bidder called, seemingly unhappy. Yi Mo reached out his spirit sense, but he couldn't penetrate the room of the bidder. At the same time, tens of spirit senses scanned over to Yi Mo, wanting to see what sort of a bidder he was. Yet, what shook them was that although this cultivator had the lowest grade room, their spirit sense couldn't penetrate it. 21 million, Yi Mo added. 3 million. 31 million, Yi Mo added again. 5 million. 51 million. It seemed both parties were angry. Lu Yen kept making remarks to spice up the feud between the two bidders. When Yi Mo called out to 51 million, the cultivator finally raged and roared, 3 million! If you still want to bid, it's yours. I'm the hidden sword Sex, Fei Zijiang. I'd be very happy if you got the stone stool. Yi Mo fell silent. He wasn't threatened by Fei Zijiang, but he only had 3 million spirit stones. Yet now he had no option but to watch Fei Zijiang get the stone stool. Yi Mo also realized about the importance of spirit stones while improving his power. Although he was rather wealthy for a foundation establishment state cultivator, his spirit stones were nothing compared to the truly wealthy people. Both of the things he had wanted to buy were taken. Seeing that Yi Mo wasn't bidding anymore, everyone assumed that Yi Mo was scared of Fei Zijiang, since the hidden sword sect was almost as strong as a 5-star sect. Fei Zijiang was very unhappy that he had had to spend 3 million to buy the stone stool. After the auction, he would teach that guy a lesson. Despite not having gotten the stone stool, Yi Mo had found out that Fei Zijiang was from the hidden sword sect, so he made up his mind. Once he had enough power, the first place he would go to would be the hidden sword sect. He must get the stone stool. Even Lu Yan hadn't expected that some random stone stool would get sold for 3 million middle-grade spirit stones. It was the highest-priced item of the auction so far. Chapter 867, Rusty Hacking Sword. Chapter 867. Rusty Hacking Sword. Lu Yan then took out a cultivation method and said, "This is a sword ability called Illusion Cloud, but it's incomplete. There's only a third of it left, and its grade is unclear." Illusion Cloud. Yi Mo heard this and remembered the Li family's sword ability. If it was, then he didn't have any use for it. He had even gotten a jade slip after killing Li Chongqing that recorded the Illusion Cloud's 6 strikes. He couldn't even be bothered looking at it. Lu Yan said, "Only the last third of the sword ability remains. It has been impossible to cultivate it so far. The starting bid is 20,000 spirit stones. Each increment must be no lesser than 1,000. Yi Mo thought about it. Did the Illusion Cloud sword ability not come from the Li family, but from somewhere else? The Li family's one was incomplete too. Yi Mo had had a close-up experience with the power of the Illusion Cloud 6 strikes. It was no weaker than 3-birth sword ray. The whirlpool sword Qi Li Bison had used was very hard to defend against. If Yi Mo hadn't had the 3-birth sword ray, he might have not been able to stop it. However, Yi Mo wasn't interested in it because it was a single-edged sword ability, not double-edge. 21,000. Yi Mo bid again. He still wanted to know if this one was connected to the one he got. Most cultivators cultivated double-edge sword abilities. This sword ability was incomplete, and it was the latter part which couldn't be cultivated, so no one bidded after Yi Mo made a bid. Eventually, the sword ability became his. When Yi Mo got the sword ability and checked it, he found it was the last 3 strikes of the Illusion Cloud 6 strikes. He rejoiced It had been so worth to buy it for 21,000 spirit stones. It was really called the illusion Cloud 9 Strikes. Yi Mo felt that if he learned the illusion Cloud 9 Strikes, his battle power would increase to a rather terrifying state. The complete version was 10 times stronger than the incomplete version. His flying sword was too low level, however. After getting the sword ability, Yi Mo decided to get a good single-edged sword. The following items were of no interest to Yi Mo. There were spirit herbs and ores that even nascent soul state cultivators needed. But it wasn't something Yi Mo could afford. Yi Mo only bought one more thing, which was 10 pieces of a level 4 spirit herb, the Yin Lian flower. It was a supplementary ingredient to the stalagmite benefit pill, but only that costed tens of thousands of spirit stones. Just when Yi Mo thought he was going to have to wait longer, Lu Yan took out a piece of segmented earth. Everyone, we're going to auction a block of segmented earth. Everyone knows it's ideal for setting up formations. Many people also use it to forge artifacts. This is a low-grade kind of segmented earth, but it's still very valuable, and I believe everyone knows this. The starting bid is 300,000 spirit stones. Each increment must be no lower than 10,000. 500,000. Yi Mo heard Fei Xijiang bid almost instantly. 510,000. Yi Mo bid without thinking. Yi Mo still had about 9 million spirit stones now. When Yi Mo bidded, everyone was dazed. They had seen Yi Mo surrender when Fei Xijiang told everyone about his sect. Yet now Yi Mo was bidding against him again. Everyone had realized by now that Yi Mo wasn't afraid of Fei Xijiang's identity. He had just wanted to make Fei Xijiang spend more money. Perhaps there was conflict between the two men. Yi Mo and Fei Xijiang were capable of easily bidding millions of spirit stones, so when they started competing, many people left. The piece of segmented earth was low grade, and it could only be used for formations. Yi Mo's bids made Fei Xijiang very angry. He had thought not long ago that Yi Mo was afraid of him, but now it seemed like he was a clown. That man was bidding 10,000 extra each time to toy with him, making him spend more money. Perhaps that person was laughing at how stupid he was. Very well, 600,000. Fei Xijiang's cold voice sounded. 610,000, Yi Mo said calmly. He was also annoyed at Fei Xijiang, who took what he wanted every time. 700,000, 710,000, 800,000, 810,000. It was just Yi Mo and Fei Xijiang bidding. Each time Fei Xijiang made a bid, Yi Mo would add 10,000 to it. Everyone was enjoying this show. It was not a fight for the piece of segmented earth, but two cultivators taking out their anger on each other. But Yi Mo knew he wasn't. Well, very well. Fei Xijiang clenched his teeth and said when the bid was at 1 million. The chunk of segmented earth became Yi Mo's. It was considered quite lucky that Yi Mo could get it for 1 million. This was mainly due to their seemingly personal feud over it. Or else, the piece of segmented earth might have been sold for even 2 million. Yi Mo was prepared to leave once he got segmented earth. The next item is a level 6 beast core. That was also rare, but Yi Mo knew he couldn't afford it either. Hence, he left the auction. At the same time, Yi Mo felt Shadowless wake up. It hadn't grown much bigger, but the golden patch on his back had grown larger. Yi Mo rejoiced. On a certain degree, he needed Shadowless. Its power was very well hidden, yet strong. Yi Mo went to a corner and stayed there for a long while. When he was sure that no one was following him, he changed his clothes and face. The auction went on for 2 more days, so when Yi Mo went back, the marketplace was still very busy. Yi Mo walked around the market. He was planning to go back to China Pharmaceuticals. Do you want 500 spirit stones for this crappy sword? I have 90 low-grade spirit stones here. If you want to sell it, I'll take it. A voice caught Yemo's attention. Two male cultivators were carrying a huge, rusty, hacking sword and arguing. The stall owner was an old man in his 60s. He was only at Chi Gathering Level 9. Yemo shook his head. That rusty sword wasn't even worth 90 spirit stones, much less 500 spirit stones. Yemo was about to walk away when he suddenly felt something wasn't right. The two buyers were Foundation Establishment State cultivators. Couldn't it tell it was not worth the money? Yemo scanned his spirit sense on the rusty sword. Chapter 868. Counter Rob. Chapter 868. Counter Rob. Soon, Yemo realized that it was a very ordinary hacking sword, but there was something inside the sword that blocked out spirit sense. There were also tens of formations around this spirit sense shielding formation. Yemo believed he had quite a good understanding of formations, yet he couldn't tell the type of a single one of them. The old man heard this and put away the sword before saying, "Sorry, Qianbei, this sword has been passed down by my ancestors. If it wasn't for the fact that I don't have a descendant nor have a way to reach Foundation Establishment State, I wouldn't sell this sword." Yemo walked up to the stall and took the sword. "I'll have a look." Yemo didn't even look at it and just gave the old man 500 spirit stones. "I like this sword. I'll take it. These are your 500 spirit stones." When the old man grabbed the spirit stones in a daze, one of the Foundation Establishment State cultivators stopped Yemo and said, "Friend, we saw this sword first. What right do you have to buy it?" Yemo smiled plainly. "That's really strange. I clearly saw you to bargain and pay 90 spirit stones. But the stall owner agree. Is there something wrong with me buying it from him for a price he likes?" There were a level 3 and a level 5 Foundation Establishment State cultivators. Yemo didn't care at all. He made his power seem like it was at Foundation Establishment State level 3. He was afraid that the two cultivators wouldn't go out and look for him later on. If they did, he would be able to figure out some stuff. His spirit sense was at false core level. He could see what the two Foundation Establishment State cultivators might not be able to see. Since the two men couldn't see the spirit sense shielding formation inside the sword, why did they want it? That's what Yemo wanted to know. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to find him if he didn't want them to. The level 5 cultivator sneered, "According to you, no one needs to bargain. You can just take what you want with money, while people are still discussing business." Then he looked around to the crowd watching and saluted with his fist. "Friends, is that how things work? I was discussing business with the stall owner, but this guy threw 500 spirit stones and just took the sword. How does he know I wasn't going to pay 500 spirit stones? I was planning on taking out 500 spirit stones. We should respect the order based on who came first, right?" No one dared intervene. Whoever had more money deserved the sword. Everyone knew that this Foundation Establishment State cultivator hadn't been planning on taking out 500 spirit stones. Yemo suddenly laughed. "Let's say you're right. Then I will earn a lot when I go to an auction. When something comes out, I will make the first bid. According to your logic, I made the first bid, so everyone else won't bother making bids because the item belongs to the first bidder." Your logic really makes sense. Everyone started laughing. Although Yemo had bent the truth a little, it was still reasonable. The Foundation Establishment State cultivator's face was red. He sneered, "People can compete with an auction. You didn't even give me the chance to make a bid. You just took it and left." Yemo's face suddenly became serious, and he nodded. "You're right, very well. You can start bidding. I bid 500 spirit stones. If you make a higher bid, then it's yours." The Foundation Establishment State cultivator was dazed. He hadn't thought Yemo would suddenly be so easy to talk to and let him bid. But just after a moment of hesitation later, he said, "I bid 550. No matter what, he had to get the sword. Yemo said 1,000. The two cultivators didn't expect Yemo to add this much at one time, but they still gritted their teeth and bid. 1,100. 2,000. Yemo knew he had reached his goal when he bid 2,000. The two men saw Yemo casually add 1,000 spirit stones and realized that it was pointless for them to keep raising the price. Yemo was only at level 3 foundation establishment state, but he was already very wealthy. Moreover, that sword. The two cultivators glanced at each other and didn't speak. Yemo could be certain now that they would follow him. Yemo gave the stall owner another one, 500 spirit stones, and left. The two men also left, and Yemo walked in the opposite direction. They went into a quiet room and started to change their appearance. The level 3 cultivator said worriedly, "Marshal Brother Gu, that guy is at foundation establishment state at such a young age, and he had so many spirit stones. Do you think he might have a big origin?" The Marshal Brother Gu sneered. "What do you think? If he had a big origin, would he use a storage bag? He probably just had some fortune. That hacking sword concerns our future. We must not let him go no matter what. Moreover, he's only at foundation establishment state, primary stage. I can kill him easily." Yemo left the market casually and flew away on his flying sword slowly. As expected, after flying approximately 30 kilometers away from market, he noticed the two foundation establishment state cultivators, but they were wearing masks. But without special magic artifacts to change their chi, spirit sense could easily scan through their masks. Yemo didn't go very fast, but the two men were patient. They sped up to stop Yemo after he was more than thousands of miles away from the market. "What do you two want?" Yemo's face didn't change at all. The level 3 cultivator sneered. "Nothing. You took what you shouldn't have. Kid, give us everything, and perhaps we might let you live." Yemo laughed. There was some story to that sword indeed. His power level suddenly rose and surpassed level 4. With his power, cultivation essence, and spirit sense, he could easily imitate the power level of a foundation, establishment state, tertiary stage cultivator. The two men had thought Yemo was just some ordinary foundation, establishment state, primary stage, but now Yemo's power level had drastically risen. They were quickly forced back by Yemo's power. "You're a false core cultivator," the level 5 cultivator called out in shock. He had realized that they had been baited by this cultivator. Yemo didn't waste time talking. He sent out his flying sword and tens of sword ray shot out. He also released Shadowless. Yemo's sword ray pulverized the level 5 cultivator's shield. The next moment, Shadowless was draining the essence, blood of the man. All of this happened in an instant. By the time the level 3 cultivator reacted, he could only run away. However, he had just taken a step, and Yemo was already standing in front of him. Chapter 869. I'm here to watch the show. Chapter 869. I'm here to watch the show, Qianbei. I was lured here to stop Qianbei by Guyuhua. I'm willing to give you everything I have just so Qianbei can have mercy on me. The level 3 cultivator had seen Yemo kill his companion instantly and realized the difference between them was too great. Yemo said, "Tell me why you must have that sword. Is there something special about it?" Yemo sent out his flying sword again, covering the sky with sword rays, and waited to attack the level 3 cultivator. The cultivator, who had wanted to make a deal with Yemo, shivered at the scene. He couldn't understand how Yemo controlled the sword rays to this degree. He immediately said, "Qianbei, Guyuhua, and I found the map of an ancient ruin. We've been there, but we couldn't go in. The key to the door is a hacking sword." Yemo asked, "So you're saying that the sword I just bought is the key? There are millions of hacking swords in the world. How can you be sure that this is the one?" "Qianbei, that hacking sword has 9 crevices. Ordinary hacking swords don't have as many meaningless crevices. The sword you bought happened to have them. So Dash, the level 3, cultivator was shaking. He didn't know if Yemo would let him go afterwards. Yemo hadn't really noticed the crevices until now. After perusal, Yemo noticed that each crevice had a different shape, and inside the crevice there are formations hidden inside. "Where is the map?" Yemo asked. "Inside Gu Yuhua's storage bag." The cultivator didn't dare lie and quickly replied. Yemo searched Gu Yuhua's bag and indeed found an ancient map inside. Yemo studied the map and realized that he had been there. It was at the All Herb mountain ranges. "All Herb mountain ranges," Yemo murmured. "Yes, yes," the Foundation Establishment State Master quickly replied, wondering what Yemo would do to him as he had no value anymore. Yemo wasn't going to be generous. If he hadn't been a match for the two men, they wouldn't have let him live. Hence, he also didn't have any reason to let them live. Moreover, the sword and the map were all secrets. He wasn't going to let go off a ticking bomb. Yemo immediately activated the sword rays to kill this Foundation Establishment State cultivator, and then he took his storage bag. Yemo went on his flying pike, but he immediately realized that he shouldn't go back to River State immediately. He should go to some other place and set up the teleport formation before going back. 2 days later, Yemo arrived in an unknown mountain range 100,000 kilometers away from River State. He was planning on setting up the teleportation formation there because the furthest one he could make with the materials he had was of a 100,000 kilometers distance. Yemo found a distant valley in the ranges and opened up a cultivation cave. Inside, he was going to set up the teleportation formation. It took Yemo half a day to drill a hole in the valley, after which he started making formation flags. Luckily, he had already finished most of the flags. The main materials he needed to deal with were star sand and segmented earth. 3 days later, Yemo finished setting up the teleportation formation and left some pills and spirit stones in the stone room before leaving. He then walked out of the valley and rebuilt the valley to how it was before. Finally, Yemo could rest assured. Now he just needed to set up the other side of the portal inside China Pharmaceuticals. With that, even if he offended someone strong, he could take Song Yangzhu and Yi Ling and run away. Yemo left the valley and went on the flying pike, heading towards River State City. He had been gone for around 10 days, and he was very worried. However, he hadn't gone very far when he scanned 4 figures, 1 at the front and 3 at the back, all rushing towards the mountains he was in. Yemo believed that ordinary people wouldn't be able to find his teleportation formation at all. He had large amounts of sound and spirit barrier formations in a spirit chi arid valley. Hence, Yemo didn't care at all where they were going. They were 2 men and 2 women. The one at the front was a woman and seemed to be at Foundation Establishment State Peak Stage. The 3 people behind her were also all at Foundation Establishment State Peak Stage. One was nearly at False Core Stage. "Even if I die, don't think you'll get it," the woman called out in rage. Her voice was coarse and she had heavy injuries. Yemo heard this and realized that it was the woman who had bought the core building herb at the auction. Yemo immediately realized why these people behind were chasing her. He sighed. This woman had been too careless and had let people recognize her. It was very important to not let people recognize who you are after an auction. Fate Zijiang had told people who he was because he had a strong background and people would respect him instead. The core building herb was very rare, rarer than bitter 10 years. Yet, Yemo had now encountered it in such a barren place. There was no reason for him not to follow them and watch. With these thoughts, Yemo also followed them. The 4 cultivators immediately noticed this, and the woman ran even faster. The other 3 cultivators sneered. Yemo was a small mere Foundation Establishment State Level 4 cultivator, but he dared join the party. He was asking to die. Yemo followed behind them. In half a day's time, they had already passed Yemo's formation. Although Yemo could catch up to them easily, he still stayed behind carefully. Yemo wasn't afraid of any one of them, but if they gang up against him, he would have to run. Seeing there were no more escape routes ahead, the female cultivator stopped and looked back. She brushed her messy hair back and stared coldly at the 3 pursuers, ignoring the level 4 man Yemo. The other 3 cultivators also stopped, forming a semicircle around the female cultivator. Yemo stopped too and just stared at the group. Yemo then noticed that the woman who had gotten the herb looked like she was in her 40s. Her skin condition wasn't very good. One could tell she had had a harsh journey of cultivation. She had average looks, but her body was very good. As for the 3 pursuers, one was a tall man who was more or less 2m tall and was nearly at false core state. But from his chi, Yemo could tell he was a far cry from Lee Bison. The other man was short and fat. He was at foundation establishment state peak stage. The woman was in her 30s and had a smile on her face. She was much prettier than the woman running. Seeing that the woman had stopped, the tall man said coldly to Yemo, "P*SS off or die." Yemo sneered at the man and said in contempt, "Who do you think you are? I want to be here and watch the show. Do you have a problem?" Seeing a mere level 4 foundation establishment state cultivator dared curse at a false core state cultivator, the 2 people behind the man as well as the woman in front were dazed. They couldn't understand where Yemo got his courage from. Chapter 870, Escaping from Death. Chapter 870, Escaping from Death. "You're asking to die," the tall cultivator roared in fury, as his power drastically increased. He threw a stone drum at Yemo. It was the size of a basket when he first took it out, but when it reached Yemo's head, it had a circumference of 3m. It was so fast that it blasted through the air. The air below the drum seemed to have condensed, clearly due to the man's cultivation essence. This stone drum was at least a low-grade spirit artifact. The false core state cultivator couldn't form a chi field like a golden core state master would, but it was already similar. Low-level cultivators wouldn't even be able to escape the cultivation essence confinement, much less block the drum. The tall cultivator gave a lethal blow immediately, clearly wanting to kill that arrogant little cultivator as fast and bloody as possible. The female cultivator at the front was shook. She had just realized that this guy had never used his full power. The expressions of the man and woman who followed the tall cultivator also changed. They realized that their companion hadn't been using his full power all this time. He had been clearly hiding it for a dark purpose. The tall cultivator was angry, but he had also showed his power to exert his dominance. There was just one core building herb, and he exerted his dominance to imply that it would be his. However, Yemo was no ordinary foundation establishment state level 4 cultivator. He had killed Lee Bison, who was many times stronger than that tall cultivator, despite the help of the burst essence pill. However, Yemo had also gotten stronger now too. He had gained his power through his own hard work, and it was much easier to use than the power he had gotten from the pill. It could be said now that Yemo's power was the same as when he used the burst essence pill. With such dense cultivation essence, how could he be afraid of that false core state cultivator who was far inferior than Lee Bison? Yemo burst out his power and broke free from the strangling attack. The next moment, he had already sent out his flying sword. The sword ray went from tens to hundreds, until countless ones formed and clashed with the stone drum. Heavenly shaking rumbles sounded. The stone drum had been blocked, and it couldn't drop down even an inch. In the beginning, the drum could pressure down a little. However, as the sword rays multiplied, it couldn't move at all, no matter how much spirit sense or cultivation essence the tall cultivator put into the drum. Yemo's sword ray was still multiplying, and the newly birthed sword rays surrounded the drum. After some time, the stone drum would eventually be subjugated by the sword rays. That tall cultivator's expression changed greatly. He hadn't thought a mere foundation establishment state level 4 cultivator could be this strong, both in terms of spirit sense and cultivation essence. However, Yemo sighed. His flying sword was too low quality. He could only use a little more than half of his true power. If he had a high-level flying sword, he would have already struck the stone drum and even injured the cultivator. Yi Emo knew that he could succeed if he released Shadowless now. But before he was completely sure that he could kill the cultivator, he was going to hide his killing blow. Yi Emo and the tall cultivator were fighting equally, at least it seemed so. The other, 3 cultivators' expression kept changing drastically. No wonder that foundation establishment state level for cultivator was so cocky. The tall cultivator looked at his 2 companions and yelled, "Hurry up and help me kill him! The sooner we kill him, the sooner we can do what we need to do." The 2 companions glanced at each other, but they didn't move. If they helped the tall cultivator now, the person to benefit from all of it would be him, not them. Seeing this, the tall cultivator was furious. He knew his actions had caused suspicion. Without thinking, he took out a rune from his storage bag and spat essence blood on it. Then, with a few more chants, it suddenly expanded. After a second, the sky was covered with lightning. The lightning sparks were the size of chopsticks. The lightning immediately gathered, forming a huge lightning field which surrounded Yi Emo, a level 6 lightning rune. The 3 people watching called out at the same time. Lightning runes were the hardest to make. The woman saw this and immediately started to run. She knew now was the best time. As soon as the lightning rune was taken out, the 2 companions realized that no matter how strong of a foundation establishment state cultivator Emo was, he was dead for sure. The 2 cultivators immediately stopped the female cultivator from running, and they started battling. The tall cultivator saw this and breathed at ease. He had wasted an extremely precious lightning rune, but it was nothing compared to the core-building grass. Yi Emo was shook when he got surrounded by the lightning. He found out that he couldn't escape the lightning field no matter what. Soon, the lightning started to strike Yi Emo. The smallest lightning sparks had already started to burn Yi Emo's body, and his cultivation essence was flying away quickly. The sword rays had now lost the upper hand. Yi Emo cursed, regretting to have underestimated his enemy. Even if he hadn't released Shadowless, he could have used Winter's Arrival. Yi Emo tried to divide some sword rays to block the lightning, but his efforts were in vain. His sword rays weren't able to stop the lightning and instead made it stronger. Seeing that his lightning rune had subjugated Yi Emo and that the stone drum was about to break free and smash Yi Emo into pulp, the tall cultivator laughed. Crack, crack! 2 more lightning rays struck Yi Emo's chest, shattering his armor and causing 2 deep gashes. Yi Emo was aware that if he didn't go into the Golden Page world and continued like this, he would be dead for sure. He took the last 3 Lotus Life pills and quickly used the 3-birth chant to recover. At the same time, he released Shadowless and Winter's Arrival. It was late, but he didn't have a choice. Crack, crack! 3 more lightning rays struck Yi Emo. However, just when Yi Emo was ready to receive an even heavier injury, he joyfully found out that if he used the 3-birth chant, the lightning rays would get absorbed by him. Had that really happened, Yi Emo knew he had a mutant lightning spirit root, but he couldn't learn lightning-style magic for some reason. Now he was absorbing lightning power. Did that mean that lighting-style magic had to be cultivated in lightning? Yi Emo rejoiced and stopped Shadowless from attacking. He simply let the lightning strike him freely. Crack, crack! Yi Emo knew he was earning big with the 3-birth chant. He felt his lightning power getting stronger and stronger. Perhaps the next thing he needed to do was find a lightning-style attack. The tall cultivator could have never guessed that Yi Emo's wounds were gradually healing and his cultivation level was increasing. Chapter 871. Deal. Chapter 871. Deal. Yi Emo felt his power was increasing slowly. Ever since he had started cultivating the 3-birth chant, he was able to sense all 5 elements from his spirit chi and even control the wind element spirit power. However, he hadn't been able to control lightning and ice power. Thanks to the 2 eggs, he got ice power. And that way, the power he had happened to miss was lightning. However, now he could absorb the power from the lightning rune, allowing him to cultivate lightning style. This created balance amongst the elements in his body and caused his power to increase drastically in such a short time. When his lightning power was completely balanced with all other elements, the increase would slow down. Yemo realized that the spirit chi in the world was mostly consisted of the 5 elements, but it had a really little amount of wind, ice, and lightning power. Hence, when he found a place to cultivate wind, lightning, and ice, his power would increase drastically. Yemo could feel his cultivation essence reach full capacity and break through a small barrier. Then his cultivation essence and meridians expanded again. Foundation establishment state, level 5. Yemo rejoiced. He hadn't thought he could break through amidst a battle. However, his biggest acquisition had been that he had found out what he needed to cultivate from now on. When Yemo was ready for more lightning strikes, he found that his surroundings had quietened down. All of the power of the lightning rune had been absorbed by him. That tall cultivator looked dazedly at Yemo, as though he had seen the most unbelievable thing. Yemo sent out his winter's arrival. The intense frigidness immediately confined the false core state cultivator. The man shivered and came back to his senses. He immediately realized things weren't good. Yemo wasn't going to give him time to break free. His flying sword formed countless sword rays again and instantly pierced the cultivator into a honeycomb. When the intense cold permeated, even the other cultivators started shivering subconsciously. They stopped at the same time, but they just saw Yemo's flying sword tearing the tall cultivator into pieces. The scene quietened down. Yemo slowly put a new set of clothes on himself before taking back Winter's arrival. Then he walked up to the tall cultivator casually and took his storage bag. Qianbei Wanbei will leave. The short, fat cultivator worriedly saluted Yemo with his fist and disappeared immediately. The other female cultivator also copied the man and flew away on her flying sword. Yemo didn't chase after them. Although he could have killed them, his main target was the cultivator with the core-building herb. The woman saw Yemo wasn't chasing after the other 2 cultivators and instead set his gaze on her. Her expression looked bad. She knew she was Yemo's target. With Yemo's power, she would die if she fought him. Moreover, she was already heavily injured too. She had spent all her savings on this herb, and in the end, it benefited someone else. She sighed. Seeing Yemo's decisiveness, she could tell that she would die if she didn't take it out. Perhaps she was bound to stay at Foundation establishment state her entire life. The woman hesitated for a moment before giving Yemo the herb. This is the core-building herb. It's yours. Yemo smiled. If someone dared to try steal from him, he would steal from them in return and even kill them. Yet, he also really couldn't just steal someone else's belonging without a reason. He had his moral principles. Yemo smiled but didn't take it. You're right, I came here for the herb, but I'm not here to rob it. I would like to make a deal. If you agree, you won't lose anything. The woman took back her hand in bewilderment. The herb was quite a fortune. No one would let this opportunity slide. She had long been living in the bottom level of the cultivation realm, and she knew how evil and selfish people could be. She was dubious about Yemo's words. If she had been pretty, she would have thought Yemo had come for her body, but she knew she was very average. Also, no matter how pretty she was, the herb would be worth more than her. Yemo said, I'm a pill master, a level 9 spirit pill master. This time she reacted fast and immediately said in joy, You can make the cultivation increasing pill. Yemo nodded. Yes, I can, and I have great confidence in it. The female cultivator understood now. She could tell that Yemo was one of those rare cultivators who didn't like stealing other people's things. She knew that Yemo had no reason to lie to her. She had nothing valuable to be tricked for. Even if Yi Mo only had 10% chance of success, she would have a try. Without thinking, the female cultivator gave the herb to Yi Mo. I didn't think you to be a pill master. I'm Zhen Shaoshan. If you can make the pill, then just give me one. Yi Mo took the herb and nodded. Don't worry, I will give you a pill for sure. I'm Yi Mo, the boss of River State City's China Pharmaceuticals. If you have nowhere to go, you can go there first. When I finish concocting the pill, you can go for Golden Core State there. Huh. Zhen Shaoshan was shook by Yi Mo's words. She had thought Yi Mo would just give her a way to contact him and tell her to wait, but he was an actual pill shop boss. No wonder he could make pills. Having a safe place to reach Golden Core State was more important to her than anything. She immediately bowed and said, Thank you, Brother Yi, I have no place to go. Yi Mo waved his hand. I'm younger than you. Just call me Yi Mo then. Yi Mo took off his mask. This is my real face. Zhen Shaoshan quickly asked, What's wrong? Yi Mo took a seed from the herb and said, These people are really generous. They didn't even take away the core-building herb seed. Zhen Shaoshan smiled and shook her head. The seed can only be collected before harvesting the herb. Otherwise, the seed would be useless. Even if it can be grown, no sect would spend 300 to 500 years to grow this herb. Yi Mo smiled and didn't answer. He took out a jade box and put the seed inside. His Golden Page world was very big now. He wanted to see if the Golden Page world could grow it. Chapter 872. The 6 Big Halls of Fame. Chapter 872. The 6 Big Halls of Fame. When Yi Mo took out his flying pike, Zhen Shaoshan understood why he hadn't taken the herb too seriously. This flying spirit artifact was worth at least 1 million middle-grade spirit stones. Yi Mo scanned his spirit sense into the city before he went in. When he found that China Pharmaceuticals' formations were well and the shop was running normally, he breathed at ease. When Zhen Shaoshan saw China Pharmaceuticals inside, she was shook even more. Yi Mo was younger than her, but he was a pill master and had such a grandiloquent pill shop at a place like River State City. When Yi Mo went in China Pharmaceuticals, Sheng Yizhong was working with a few attendants. The moment they saw Yi Mo arrive, all of them went up to greet him. Brother Yi, you went to Nanshan Market indeed. I didn't think I would be lucky enough to meet you just when I was about to leave. Yanzheng walked out of the shop accompanied by Su Yu. Brother Yanzheng, thank you. Yi Mo saluted with his fist. He was truly grateful to Yanzheng. He had helped to look after China Pharmaceuticals when he was gone. If it hadn't been for Yanzheng, he really wouldn't have dared to leave Songyangzhu and Yiling there by themselves. Yanzheng waved his hand. Brother Yi, no need to be so polite. We're lucky to have your help. I need your help with something, but you must have a lot of things to do. I'll come back tomorrow. Yi Mo could feel that Songyangzhu and Yiling were cultivating, so he was in no rush to see them. He said, It's fine, we can talk about it now. Then Yi Mo said to Su Yu, Xiao Yu, take Zhen Shaoshan to rest. She'll be one of us from now on. Zhen Shaoshan was going to stay at China Pharmaceuticals for at least half a year, so he told Yanzheng that she was a new recruit. Seeing the 2 women leave, Yanzheng then said, Brother Yi, I would like to know how long it would take you to concoct a level 7 spirit pill. If you can make it within half a year, we can provide you with some help, but of course, if you know a level 7 spirit pill master, that would be even better. Yi Mo knew that although Yanzheng had asked if he could reach level 7 in half a year, his real intention was to ask if he knew any level 7 pill masters. It was just a 1-level difference, but the gap was too great. If one could cross this gap in half a year, then there would be many level 7 masters in the world. Yanzheng was asking about his non-existent master. If he could teach a level 6 pill master, then he might have other disciples that were at level 7. Seeing that Yi Mo wasn't speaking anymore, Yanzheng knew that Yi Mo had understood what he was implying. he said awkwardly. "Have you heard about the 10 secret lands?" Yi Emo shook his head. Yan Zheng said, "I only know about the Yunjin Palace and the desert, Herb Valley." The Yunjin Palace? Yi Emo was shook because he had actually heard about it. When he used to be a part of the East Black States magical herb sect, he had heard that there were countless fortunes in the Yunjin Palace. It would open every 30 years, and cultivators less than 100 years old could go in, regardless of how powerful they were. The difference in power of those who went in was huge. Some geniuses even reached nascent soul state at the age of 100, so the palace was also very dangerous. Those who went in were usually at golden core state cultivator. Rarely any qi gathering or foundation establishment state cultivator would try it. However, there were limited spots, so the requirements were very strict. Yi Emo only knew that 5-star sects and above had spots to go in. The magical herb sect was a 4-star sect, so they didn't have the right to go in. "You've also heard about the Yunjin Palace?" Yanzheng asked. Yi Emo nodded. "I've heard people talk about it before. It's said to be very hard to get into." Yanzheng nodded. "Yes, it hasn't opened yet, but even if it does, we won't meet the requirements to go in. Those who go in are prodigies and some powerful cultivators. I'm talking about the other secret land, the desert Herb Valley. It also has limited spots." Yi Emo asked Yanzheng, "What has this got to do with a pill master?" Yanzheng replied, "There are many spirit herbs in there, even the Chao Huan fruit. The North Far State has very limited resources, so all spirit herbs are a huge attraction to sections. By the way, do you know that Luo Yu continent has 4 states?" Yi Emo nodded. Yanzheng realized that Yi Emo did indeed know a lot. Perhaps his master had told him all this. Yanzheng continued, "The desert Herb Valley has many herbs, which means it has cultivation resources. Only 500 people can go in each time. People get sent outside if they're not among the first 500. So the sects have come up with a way to divide it. Other than the spot sects usually get, the extra ones have been split based on the 6 big halls of fame. All the sects who have someone on the 6 big halls of fame get 3 to 10 extra spots. The 6 big halls of fame are the Qi Gathering Hall of Fame, the Foundation Establishment Hall of Fame, the Golden Core Hall of Fame, the Forgery Hall of Fame, the Pill Concoction Hall of Fame, and the Rune Making Hall of Fame." Yi Emo asked in bewilderment, "Why isn't there a nascent soul or a hollow spirit Hall of Fame, or a formation Hall of Fame?" Yanzheng smiled. "The North Far State has a Hall of Fame for nascent soul state cultivators, but it's not called a Hall of Fame. It's called the Nascent Soul State 53 Kings. The number 1 king is a solo cultivator called Su Changjia. There's no ranking for hollow spirit state cultivators, but everyone has their own ranking. As for formation masters, there are too few people." Yi Emo then asked, "Do the big 6 halls of fame include the 50 best? Does that mean that if you're on the ranking, you can get more spots for your sect?" Yanzheng shook his head. "It's not like that. If it were, then there wouldn't be enough spots. Each Hall of Fame has 100 people. Only the top 3 can increase spots for their sect. The only exception is for Pill Concoction. If you're in the top 10, you can get your sect 3 spots." "Why?" Yi Emo asked in confusion. Yanzheng explained, "That's because this secret land is mostly filled with spirit herbs. Only pill masters can fully utilize them. In half a year, the headquarters of the pill associations in the North Far State will hold a tournament for the Hall of Fame. After the tournament, the desert Herb Valley will open." Chapter 873, Genius. Chapter 873. Genius thinking about the substantial amount of herbs in the desert Herb Valley. Yi Emo got immediately interested. He saluted Yanzheng with his fist and said, "Brother Yan, I understand. Don't worry, I can help you for sure, but I have one small request. Yan Zheng saw that Yi Mo agreed and immediately replied happily, "Tell me, brother Yi. I'll do anything I can." Yi Mo nodded. "I can probably help you get 3 more spots. But I want 1 spot for going into the secret land too. Will this be possible?" Yan Zheng had already thought of this before he went to ask Yi Mo for help. Both Yi Mo and his master were pill masters. There was no way they wouldn't want a spot. Thinking about this, he immediately said, "No problem. The requirement is that only those below Golden Core State can go in. It would be perfect for you to go in." Yi Mo was already at level 9 Spirit Pill Master. In half a year, he might even become a Pill King. Yi Mo was very confident in getting into the top 10 for the Pill Concoction Hall of Fame with his level of skills. After sending Yan Jing off, Yi Mo went to see Li Yuqian. Li Yuqian's internal injuries had recovered. She was very happy with the cultivation environment there, so she had spent all her extra time teaching Song Yangzhu and Yiling wholeheartedly. Song Yangzhu and Yiling only went out for a moment, but they got to meet Yi Mo before going back inside to cultivate. Meanwhile, Li Yuqian waited on the side. As though she had something to tell Yi Mo, Li Qianbei, "I believe I can make the Chao Huan pill in 3 months. If you can reach Golden Core State peak stage in that time, it would be perfect." Yi Mo thought she was going to ask about the pills. Yi Mo also wanted her to reach nascent soul state due to his plans. He was going to the desert herb plain in half a year. He would feel much more assured if there was a nascent soul state cultivator protecting Yiling and Song Yangzhu. Li Yuqian hadn't come for the pill, but she was still shook that it could be ready in 3 months. Li Yuqian shook her head and said, "I have no way of reaching Golden Core State peak stage in 3 months unless I get the Qinwen pill. Although I have the spirit herbs needed for the pill, I don't know any spirit pill master above level 7, so I don't have a way to make it. If your master comes, I want to ask your master for help." Yi Mo understood what she meant. He thought of a while and then decisively said, "Li Qianbei, please forgive me for not telling you the truth before. I'm actually a level 1 pill king myself. I said I can get you Chao Huan pill, not because my master will make it, but because I can. So, I can help Qianbei make the Qinwen pill." "What? You're a level 1 pill king?" Li Yuqian stood up abruptly. She really didn't dare to believe Yi Mo. How old was Yi Mo? And he dared call himself a level 1 pill king? Was he crazy? Yi Mo understood her shock. If he hadn't been cultivating the 3-birth chant, he wouldn't have believed he could reach Pill King at such an age. He hadn't thought there would be such a powerful cultivation method in the world. It's like the original cultivation method from when the world was born. He knew that his ultimate achievement could never be become a mere Pill King. Although he hadn't really made a heaven-grade level 1 pill yet, he believed he could do it, and he wouldn't need much time. The reason he wasn't too sure yet was because he hadn't had a pill to make. He had exaggerated his skills a little to assure Li Yuqian. "Yes, I'm not crazy. I'm indeed a level 1 pill king, believe it or not," Yi Mo said word by word. Li Yuqian really wanted to believe Yi Mo, but his words were too absurd. Her expression became serious and didn't ask anything. She threw tens of herbs on the ground and said, "Then make the Qinwen pill right now. I'll watch." Yi Mo didn't object and simply took out his Shen Nong cauldron. He had been using it for many years, and it felt very comfortable. Although he hadn't completely spirit controlled the cauldron, it was very effective with pill concoction. Seeing Yi Mo smoothly control the cauldron with a spirit sense and send out cultivation fire, Li Yuqian could finally start to believe him. Not all the herbs on the ground were needed for the pill. Yi Mo knew she had done this on purpose. Without thinking, he waved and more than 10 herbs separated the rest and fell into the cauldron. Li Yuqian saw this and nodded, feeling that Yi Mo had some real capabilities. However, after seeing him just throw them inside without order, her expression looked a little bad. Even she knew that no matter what pill you were concocting, there was an order for putting the herbs in the cauldron. If you got it wrong, you would get a cauldron of ashes, or the cauldron might even blow up. Yi Mo had done this intentionally. He had chosen to show her his means, and it wasn't going to be ordinary means. Li Yuqian's expression soon looked surprised. There was no smell of burned bits. Instead, the impurities of the herbs came out of the mouth of the cauldron. Tens of minutes went past, and Li Yuqian realized that Yi Mo's actions weren't slowing down at all. Instead, they became smoother and smoother. She was shook. Yi Mo was only at Foundation Establishment State Level 5, but his spirit sense was even a little stronger than someone at False Core State. Li Yuqian carefully sent her spirit sense inside the cauldron and found that the herbs had been rapidly refined and ordered. With this, she could tell that Yi Mo's skills were definitely at Pill King level. An hour later, the herbs had finished being refined into pure herbal liquid. Meanwhile, Yi Mo controlled the liquid with his spirit sense while he kept pulling and stirring. Such rapid means. Yi Mo hadn't finished making the pill, but Li Yuqian knew he definitely could. He refined the herbs in a little more than an hour, when usually it would take 4 hours. Moreover, Yi Mo was using an ordinary cultivation fire. If he used another fire, wouldn't he be even better? Yi Mo then weaved a few more pill signs, and the liquid started to condense. Another hour later, the pill was gradually taking form and the aroma of the pill sped out. Ding dong! 12 turquoise pills were pulled out and placed into a jade bottle. Qianbei, the pill is made. Have a look. Yi Mo gave the bottle to Li Yuqian. Li Yuqian subconsciously grabbed the bottle and poured one. She immediately gasped. Great quality, top-grade Qinwen pills, and you even made 12 pills in a cauldron. You're a level 1 pill king indeed. Li Yuqian was shook. She knew what a level 1 pill king meant. In the North Far State, every pill king had a mass followers. There was one in front of her right now that was this young and made pills that fast. Genius. Yi Mo interrupted her thoughts. Li Qianbei, with this will you be able to reach Golden Core State Peak Stage in 3 months? Li Yuqian came back to her sense and quickly said, Yi Mo, although I'm older than you and I'm your wife and sister's master, you're a level 1 pill king. Just call me sisterly. I'm sure I can reach Golden Core State Peak Stage with this in 3 months. Chapter 874 Pill King. Chapter 874 Pill King. At this moment, Li Yuqian had put Yi Mo on an equal or even higher status than her. The reality was that a Pill King in the cultivation realm had a much higher status than a Golden Core State cultivator. Yi Mo rejoiced. Great. In half a year, I will still be needing your help, sisterly. Li Yuqian had calmed down after the initial shock. Reaching Golden Core State tertiary stage at around the age of 60 was already proof of her talent. However, Li Yuqian used to believe she wouldn't be able to reach nascent soul state until she was 150 or 200 years old. Yet, fortune was something unexplainable and she had met Yi Mo. Instead of having to wait decades or even a century, she might be able to reach nascent soul state in less than half a year. Of course, in her eyes, her greatest fortune wasn't having gone to River State City and getting the pills, but the fact that she had met a pill king. Yi Mo was a pill king at such young age. He definitely could reach higher levels in time. What was the most important thing in cultivation? Resources, of course. And pills were the most important resource. Pills came from Pill Master. If you had a stack of spirit herbs, but not a pill master to concoct pills for you, they would be useless. It was no simple thing to know a pill king and make him concoct pills for you. She wouldn't even have been able to afford a pill king's concoction fees. They usually only accepted ordinary requests. They didn't do out of the ordinary items, since it would waste their cultivation power. Thinking about how she used to look down on Yi Mo, she sighed. She understood what Yi Mo meant when he said he would be needing her help in half a year. She had also known what Yi Mo wanted her to do when he told her to stay at River State City in China Pharmaceuticals. He needed her to protect China Pharmaceuticals, and especially Song Yangzhu and Yiling. She had gone there because she really liked her two talented disciples, and she had nowhere to go, as she was disappointed at the Zhang Yuan sword sect. Of course, another important reason was that Yi Mo had saved her life. But now, it seemed her decision had been very right. Even if Yi Mo told her to leave, she wouldn't leave. Unless she didn't want to reach higher cultivation states, she would never leave a pill king she knew. Don't worry, Yangzhu and Yiling are my disciples. I'm also used to living here. If you have something to do, then just do it. Leave China Pharmaceuticals to me. Li Yuqian expressed her intentions without hesitation. Yi Mo was very happy with her attitude and nodded in satisfaction. In that case, I won't disturb your cultivation anymore. I'm going to cultivate too. In 3 months, I will give you the Chao Huan pill. Li Yuqian nodded. Regardless of whether I can reach nascent soul state, I will treat China Pharmaceuticals as my own place. But I do have something to ask you something. Li Yuqian paused and said, the cultivation method you taught Song Yangzhu and Yiling isn't an ordinary one, right? If I'm not wrong, it's at least above spirit grade level 7. If it really is, then Li Yuqian looked worried. Yi Mo heard this and knew that Li Yuqian had realized what he was teaching them. It was to be expected. She was teaching them side by side and knew the way they ran their chi meridians. Yi Mo didn't intend to hide it and just said, that's right. I was planning to tell you after you reached nascent soul state, but since you know, I'll tell you straight up. The cultivation method they are cultivating isn't at spirit grade, nor even heaven grade. I don't know what exact grade it is at. Li Yuqian was shook again. Not even at heaven grade. What kind of notion was this? It was said that the highest graded cultivation method on Luoyu continent was only at heaven grade, at low-level heaven grade. Seeing her shock, Yi Mo said, Sisterly, if you hadn't been their master and they hadn't been cultivate right in front of you, you wouldn't have noticed the grade of their cultivation method. Yi Mo knew what she was worrying about. If other people found out that they were cultivating a cultivation method at above heaven grade, the two women were dead for sure. Yet then again, if it wasn't someone really close to them, they wouldn't be cultivating in front of them in the first place. Moreover, not even Li Yuqian had managed to get it was at above heaven grade. Other people wouldn't be able to get it either. However, Yi Mo still decided to warn Song Yangzhu and Yiling later that they couldn't do this no matter what. Sisterly, I was planning to give you this cultivation method after you reached nascent soul state, Yi Mo said. He really did plan to do so. It wasn't suitable for her to cultivate the primordial chaos chant right now, or she would have to spend large amounts of time converting her cultivation essence. However, if she reached nascent soul state, she could choose a new cultivation method. Li Yuqian looked dazedly at Yi Mo. You were planning on letting me cultivate this cultivation method. She really couldn't believe that Yi Mo would be willing to give this to her. Even if it were from father to son, it would be passed down very carefully. She was aware that she had to choose a new cultivation method when she reached nascent soul state because it was impossible to reach higher states with her current cultivation method. She had been troubled, as she didn't have a better cultivation method. Yet now Yi Mo was giving her such a big gift. Yi Mo smiled and said, Sisterly, since you can teach what you know to Yiling and Yangzhu, I can teach you this. Li Yuqian knew Yi Mo was trying to tie them together, but she was still amazed by Yi Mo's magnanimity. Yi Mo knew that although the primordial chaos chant was really good, his three-birth chant was definitely much stronger than it. Once he reached a certain power, he could produce a new cultivation method based on all sorts of spirit roots. Li Yuqian calmed herself down and looked at Yi Mo. Yi Mo, your pill concoction skills is the best I've seen. It's my fortune that I can come to China Pharmaceuticals, but I see that your skills are greatly limited by your pill fire. If you just use foundation, establishment state, level cultivation fire, you won't be able to fully utilize your skills. If you had a good pill fire, your skills would be far superior than a level 1 pill king's. Yi Mo heard this and realized that he did indeed need a new one. He had thought of getting one before, but there was no big hurry. Yet now that he thought about it, he realized that he didn't need more concoction skills, but a strong pill fire. Chapter 875 Heaven and Earth Fire Seed. Chapter 875 Heaven and Earth Fire Seed. Liu Qian saw Yi Mo's expression, and she could tell that Yi Mo had understood this. I know a place with fire seeds. It's said to be at the Changfen Hill. There's a Lija fire there. It ranked a little low, but it's already a rare treasure for fire-style cultivators. I got my Li fire feather from there, but I wasn't a fire cultivator, so I didn't touch the fire seed. Fire seeds were not only helpful to pill masters, but also to fire element cultivators. If they have a rare fire seed, their offensive power and power level will be massively different than before. However, it was very hard to get rare fire seeds. According to what Yi Mo knew, there were 108 types of rare fire seeds in the world. It was said that the cultivation realm only contained 36 types. The Lija fire one ranked 29 of the 36 types, and it was near the very end of the 108 types general ranking. But even the last ranking rare fire seeds were insanely valuable. The Heaven and Earth fire seeds had a common property that other fire seeds didn't have, and that was potential growth. The speed of growth was based on their master's cultivation method and fortune, as well as fire element spirit items that they devour. In other words, if the worst ranked fire seeds grow to a certain extent, they can be more powerful than the fire seeds which ranked high before it. Pill masters also loved fire seeds. A good pill master must have a good fire seed. Without a Heaven and Earth rare fire seed, a pill master can never become a top-level pill master. Yi Mo had heard about the Changfen Hill. It was once a mortal city, but conflict between two big cultivation powers took place there. Both powers were very mighty and had a lot of allies. Eventually, more and more people died. It reached a point when most people forgot why they were even fighting, and the place was completely destroyed. No one in the city was able to escape, and the cultivators that died there were countless. Finally, the war gradually calmed down. Thousands of years later, most cultivators who were going to have a battle to death liked to resolve their conflicts there. Soon, the place became another name for graveyard. Yi Mo hadn't expected there would be a fire seed here. No one else could guess it either. Knowing that Yi Mo would be surprised, Liu Qian took out a jade slip. She quickly drew a map on it, saying, I found this place out of luck. You will know once you go there. The Lija fire was left behind by a pill master. He died before being able to spirit control it. Yi Mo took the jade slip gratefully. Yi Mo knew how precious that Heaven and Earth rare fire seed was. If she sold it for money, she could get countless spirit stones. Liu Qian breathed at ease after seeing him take the jade slip. She always owed Yi Mo and never helped him with anything. What is more, she was going to owe him even more in the future. Finally, she could help Yi Mo a little bit now. 3 days later, Yi Mo gave a cultivation increasing pill to Zhen Shaoxin, and she almost cried out of excitement. She hadn't been this excited even when she bought the core building herb, because she knew how hard it would be for that herb to turn into a pill. Yet now she actually got the pill. Yi Mo understood her feelings. Sister Zhen, you can stay at China Pharmaceuticals to form your core. The spirit chi here is quite good. When you're at golden core state, you can choose to stay if you're willing, Yi Mo said. If China Pharmaceuticals had its own golden core state and nascent soul state cultivators, then they would have the foundation to stand upright in River State City. Zhan Shaoshan tried to calm herself down, and she said, word by word, Brother Yi, it was my fortune that China Pharmaceuticals was willing to take me in. I swear that as long as you're still in China Pharmaceuticals, I will be a part of China Pharmaceuticals. Zhen Shaoshan was no idiot. She had been a solo cultivator, and now that she could follow a spirit pill master, her future was like heaven compared to before. Seeing this, Yi Emo rejoiced. He took out an essence benefit pill and gave it to her. Use this bottle of pills to prepare for core formation. As for the spirit artifact and gears you need, I will get you these in half a year. After Zhen Shaoshan left for solitary cultivation, Yemo took out the jade bottle and looked at it satisfyingly. He had concocted 6 pills of cultivation increasing pill and given one to Zhen Shaoshan. He still had 5 left, which meant that Yi Ling himself and the others didn't need to worry about pills all the way until golden core state. With the remaining time, Yemo helped the immortal treasure tower concoct pills while concocting the pill he needed, the stalagmite benefit pill. Yemo made this pill for the Mingyuan pill. The way to the Changfen Hill shouldn't be too dangerous, but he still decided to go after reaching Foundation Establishment State Level 6. The Mingyuan pill could help him reach that, and with the stalagmite benefit pill, there would be no side effects. A month later, Yi Emo reached Foundation Establishment State Level 6 with the help of these 2 pills. His cultivation essence was a lot stronger again. Although he really wanted to study the illusion cloud sword technique, he knew he really didn't have much time. He decided to go get the fire first. Once he got the fire, he would make the Chao Huan pill immediately. To him, the earlier Li Yuqian reached nascent soul state the better. He had broken the All-Pill Tower's branch store owner's son's leg, but they still hadn't gone to look for trouble with him. Although he knew it was Yan Zheng's doing, he had to make some preparations too. If that branch owner Lu Jiuqing reached nascent soul state, and Li Yuqian didn't, then China Pharmaceuticals would be at a complete disadvantage. Yi Emo couldn't believe that a nascent soul state cultivator would let him go after he had broken his son's leg. Although a broken leg injury was nothing in the cultivation realm, if people wanted to look for trouble with you, even losing a strand of hair was an excuse. Before leaving, Yi Emo was also going to set up a teleportation formation. He didn't place it underground. The teleportation formation was for emergencies, and the more hidden it was, the less easy to access it. Hence, Yi Emo had decided to place it at where Song Yangzhu and Yi Ling were cultivating. Song Yangzhu and Yi Ling were both at Qi gathering stage 7 now. Their spirit root was very good, and with adequate spirit qi and pill supplies, their progress was very rapid. "Brother, are you going out again?" Yi Ling could tell that her brother was about to leave when he went to see them again. Song Yangzhu also looked worried. Yi Emo nodded. "Yes, we must cultivate faster to be able to stand upright here. I'm going out to look for a fire seed and then help concoct pills for your master. In half year, I'm going away for a long time, so you guys need to work hard. Today, I'm here to give you some pills and set up a teleportation formation here." "A teleportation formation in our room?" Yi Ling asked curiously. Yi Emo nodded. "Yes, if you encounter strong cultivators that we can't beat, then escape through it. It will only recognize our spirit senses. Other people won't be able to activate it." Chapter 876, Changfen Hill. Chapter 876. Changfen Hill after Yi Emo set up the teleport and gave a few jade cards to Song Yangzhu and Yi Ling. He immediately left the city. He teleported out of the city and used the flying pike to travel for a day. Finally, at midnight, he arrived in the Changfen Hill. There was no one living there on radius of a few hundred kilometers. It was indeed a barren graveyard. This place didn't pose a threat for high-level cultivator, but for ordinary people. Passing by this place almost meant death. The place had very strong yin qi, together with some strange beings and phenomenons. Yi Emo immediately felt a bleak qi in the place. It seemed lifeless, and even the plants on the ground looked very gnarled. The spirit qi there was a lot less strong than in other places. If there wasn't the occasional shriek of a vulture, Yemo would have thought this place was the underworld. Yemo's spirit sense had scanned around. This graveyard hadn't been artificially created. It had been formed by countless bones and remnant weapons. On the top, spirit fire could be seen everywhere. Yemo shook his head. He didn't understand why Li Yuqian would have come here. It was not a good place for cultivation, and it couldn't have any rare items. He looked at the marking on the map and wanted to go there immediately when he felt something wasn't right. Ever since he had started cultivating three-birth chant, his sixth sense was very acute. Yemo subconsciously hid himself. No matter who would come, Yemo didn't want people to know he was there to take the Liege fire. As soon as Yemo hid, a flying cart magic artifact landed at the frontiers of the place. It was soundless. If he hadn't had his sixth sense, he would have never found out about the cart's arrival. Yemo noticed that the cart was majestic. It seemed to be an extreme grade magic artifact. Just when Yemo was about to check this extreme grade magic artifact out, he had an extreme sense of danger. He had met countless dangers before, yet never one as strong as that day. It was a feeling of irresistible danger, as though no matter what he tried, he would die for sure. Without thinking, Yemo immediately went into the Golden Page world and didn't dare move. After going in, Yemo realized that the flying cart he had seen was no magic artifact. It was a cultivation artifact. Yemo immediately felt cold, sweat going down his back. Those who could use a cultivation artifact were at least at nascent soul state, tertiary stage, or even at hollow spirit state. Yemo was sure that the cultivator on it was not at nascent soul state. In the cultivation realm, artifacts were divided into magic artifacts, spirit artifacts, cultivation artifacts, and immortal artifacts. Each one of them could be low grade, middle grade, top grade, and extreme grade. Usually, a cultivator at Golden Core State used mostly spirit artifacts. Those who used cultivation artifacts were all cultivator with great power. As for immortal artifacts, that was the foundation of big sections. Yemo rejoiced that he had gone into the Golden Page world quickly. Otherwise, if that master had found him, he could have annihilated him with a finger. These power beings killed people without any restraints. They wouldn't even ask for their names. From the Golden Page world, Yemo even felt that the cultivator in the cultivation artifact had slightly noticed him and scanned his spirit sense over. It was a pity that with his current power, he couldn't let out his spirit sense in the Golden Page world. Yemo had guessed right. The flying cart was indeed a cultivation artifact, and on it was a dark-faced cultivator who looked like he was in his 50s. He had a black mole on his face and short hair. His eyes were extremely cold. He immediately frowned and scanned where Yemo was repeatedly. The Golden Page world had fallen amongst the mud and bones. It really wasn't discernible unless he checked the bones one by one. The dark-faced cultivator scanned for a long time, but he didn't find anything. Hence, he took back his spirit sense. Yemo didn't dare to be careless facing such a high-powered cultivator. He stayed in the Golden Page world for 24 hours. Only then, he suppressed his chi before carefully coming out. When Yemo came out, he found that the cultivation artifact flying cart had been long gone. Yemo breathed at ease. He had been scared to come out and find the guy waiting for him. But soon, Yemo noticed something was wrong. There were some minor changes there, but he couldn't tell exactly what had happened. Yemo sent out his spirit sense and carefully scanned the surroundings. Half an hour later, Yemo took back his spirit sense and understood what had happened. The cultivator who had come yesterday had set up multiple formations, including a trap formation and a kill formation. These formations were very hidden, and they had been linked together, which showed that the person who had set up this was very skilled. What did this guy set up these formations for? However, Yemo immediately realized that since the guy had set up formations there, he would be back. In that case, should he still get his Liege fire? What if the guy caught him when he was trying to take the Liege fire? Yi Mo hesitated for a moment, but he still decided to get the fire. He had limited time, and if he didn't get it today, he didn't know when he would the chance to again. Moreover, it would only take a short time for him to take the fire. Once he got it, he would immediately dash away. Yi Mo didn't go take the fire immediately. He went back into the Golden Page world and made a few formation flags before coming out. He couldn't see what was going on outside the Golden Page world when he was inside, so he made a few surveillance formation flags. Although he really wanted to change the person's formation and control it, he didn't dare to. His formation skills were stronger than this person's, but the difference in power between them was too great. However, he still made many formation flags that could instantly change the trap and kill formation if he needed. If the guy caught him and he changed the formations, that would stop him for a while. After all of this was done, Yi Mo then headed towards where the fire seed was. Half an hour later, Yi Mo arrived at the southern-east border of the hill. It was a deep valley. Yi Mo got there, but he didn't find anything there after scanning his spirit sense. Hence, he decided to use earth travel and went into the ground. After going 200 meters into the ground, Yi Mo stopped. He finally understood why his spirit sense couldn't find it. Chapter 877, Breaking a Formation. Chapter 877. Breaking a formation. It was a natural cloaking formation. Even a body condensation state cultivator might not be able to scan the spirit sense inside, much less his false core state spirit sense. What shook Yi Mo the most was that the place was very hidden, but it didn't have any unique marks. How did Li Yuqian find it? How did the cultivator before her find it? However, Yi Mo cast these thoughts aside. He could ask her how she found it, and if she didn't want to talk about it, it didn't really matter to him anyway. Yi Mo's spirit sense pierced the natural formation and went into a stone room. It was about 10 SQM. Someone must have found the natural formation first and built a stone room inside. There was a skeleton inside the room. It was probably the cultivator Li Yuqian spoke of. There was no Liege fire there, but inside the stone wall behind the room, Yi Mo found a faint orange fire. Was that the Liege fire? Yi Mo stared at the faint gust of fire in confusion. He had seen rare fire seeds before. The big elder of the magical herb sect had one. It was a Kenqing fire ranked 26, but even that was countless times stronger than this alleged Liege fire. The Liege fire ranked 29, so it shouldn't be this far off. However, the faint yellow fire had a sliver of white smoke. It was the signature of the Liege fire. What surprised Yi Mo was that the flame was faint, but still had an orange color. Yi Mo knew the levels of rare flames. From low to high, it was yellow, orange, red, green, aqua, blue, and purple. The lowest level was pale yellow, but when it was dark yellow, it could ascend to orange. This flame was already pale orange. Yi Mo shook his head. He was disappointed, but it was still a rare flame. When Yi Mo's spirit sense locked onto this flame, he immediately noticed something wasn't right. The flame hadn't been casually left behind. It was bound there. He had to break the restriction to take the flame. Restrictions had a lot of similarities with formations, but it was much simpler than a formation. Any cultivator could build simple restrictions, but the high-level restrictions were no easier than formation. Yi Mo believed the restriction would be no problem for him, but when he scanned the restriction with his spirit sense, he realized he was greatly wrong. The restriction was very strong. At least he couldn't put down. It was also an attack restriction, which meant that if it wasn't undone properly, it would attack the person. Yi Mo calmed down. He didn't think things seemed to be so simple. He scanned his spirit sense around carefully, and when he scanned the four corners of the room, he almost screamed. He found that the stone room had actually been formed before the natural formation there, since the stone room had been completely embedded in the formation. Yi-Mo knew there was no way that this world would form a stone room and then form a natural formation around it. The only explanation was that it was no natural formation, it was artificial. A person had managed to lay down a natural formation. Even Yi-Mo was shook. The attributes of a natural formation were that there was no way for it to be found. Artificial formations left some traces behind. If someone could set up a formation without leaving any traces behind, how powerful were this person's formation skills? Yi-Mo didn't even dare to imagine. Yi-Mo looked at that skeleton and understood some things. It seemed that the cultivator hadn't brought the Liege fire there. Perhaps he had wanted to get the fire and got killed by the restriction. Then, Liu Qian found the cultivator and the fire. She had taken the storage ring, but didn't take the fire. This meant that someone else had brought the fire there and restrained it. For some reason, that person never came back again. Yi-Mo thought about it. Did that person leave it there for the fire to evolve? If so, then if he undid the restriction, he would get an orange level rare flame. Yi-Mo's heart was beating very quickly with these thoughts. However, he didn't let this blind him. He knew that the restriction was not easy to break. He also needed to figure out how the spirit sense barrier formation had been set up. If he understood that, it would benefit him greatly. Perhaps due to the experience he was going to gain today, he could build a natural formation as well. Yi-Mo had cultivated the three-birth chant, and he was much stronger than an ordinary cultivator in terms of insight. He was a high-level formation master himself, so he didn't take long to notice the strange features of the formation. The stone wall seemed to be able to faintly suck spirit chi. How could a stone wall suck spirit chi? Yi-Mo immediately realized that the stone wall was the core of the formation. The Liege fire was inside the stone wall. If he broke the stone wall to take the fire, then the restriction would get activated. If he didn't break the stone wall and just tried to take the fire, the restriction would still get activated. If one wanted to prevent the restriction from getting activated and get the fire, he had to break the formation first in a non-destructive way. Forcefully breaking the stone wall or spirit controlling the Liege fire would activate the restriction. However, since Yi-Mo could see the core of the formation, he could solve it. It wasn't a very strong formation. It was just a spirit sense barrier formation. Yi-Mo took out his materials and started to make formation flags. A few hours later, Yi-Mo had made 30 flags and spread them around the corners. Then he activated them. He even used top-grade spirit stones. An hour later, the stone wall cracked and Yi-Mo rejoiced. He had broken the connection between the stone wall and the restriction. However, Yi-Mo found that at the same time he solved the problem with the formation, the restriction had also released the fire automatically. He didn't have to take care of the restriction anymore, but the next moment Yi-Mo cursed. He had to gather all of his cultivation essence to stop the Liege fire, and he tried to forcefully spirit control it. He realized that breaking the formation wasn't exactly helping. Once the Liege fire escaped the restriction, it was going to escape. It seemed that the person behind all of this didn't want anyone to get the Liege fire no matter what. Yi-Mo had gone all the way there for the fire. He wasn't going to let it escape. However, Yi-Mo found he had been greatly wrong. He had thought the pale flame would be easy to capture. But when he surrounded the flame with his spirit sense and cultivation essence, it immediately emanated intense heat. Even the spirit stones he had thrown before became the flame's nutrition. Chapter 878, The Mist Lotus Heart Fire. Chapter 878, The Mist Lotus Heart Fire. With Yi-Mo's level 6 foundation establishment state power, his hair and clothes were instantly burned away, and it even began to burn his skin. Yi-Mo was shook. If it continued, he would turn into a pile of dust as soon as his cultivation essence dried out. Yi-Mo immediately called out Winter's arrival. When Winter's arrival spread out, the stone room immediately sunk into cold frost. It was the first time Yi-Mo applied Winter's arrival onto himself. The bone-chilling frost seeped into Yi Mo's burning body. The feeling of intense heat and cold was indescribable. Luckily, winter's arrival was Yi Mo's belonging, and it wouldn't harm his foundation. A moment later, Yi Mo felt his body's surface was covered by a layer of ice. He finally breathed at ease. The frost had stopped the Liege fire's rampage. However, just when Yi Mo was relaxing, he felt something was wrong. The thin layer of ice soon melted, and the intense flame of the Liege fire quickly charged at him again. Yi Mo quickly urged winter's arrival to form a layer of ice on his body, but it melted in an instant. Things repeated like this, and Yi Mo soon realized how dire the situation was. Winter's arrival was getting weaker and weaker, while the Liege fire was getting stronger and stronger. If things went down like this, winter's arrival would soon be completely extinguished, and he would be burnt to ashes. With this thought, Yi Mo took a burst essence pill and used all his spirit sense to try to spirit control the Liege fire. The flame was still weak at that moment. If it returned to its prime, then he might not be able to spirit control, even if he had been at golden core state. The burst essence pill allowed his power to increase drastically and reach foundation establishment state level 8 tertiary stage before stopping. Yi Mo was aware that time was limited, so he used all of his power and spirit sense to envelope the flame and spirit control it. Otherwise, all he would be able to do was go into the golden page world. However, if he exhausted all of his spirit sense and cultivation essence, he wasn't sure if he could. Feeling Yi Mo's drastic increase in power, the flame seemed to notice danger and stopped fighting winter's arrival. Instead, it was trying to free itself from Yi Mo's spirit sense. Yi Mo felt this and realized something. Had the flame developed its own will? Thinking about this, Yi Mo's heart fired up. Since the flame was trying to escape, winter's arrival had an opportunity to retaliate. Thanks to Yi Mo's increased power, it actually controlled the flame. The flame had some intelligence, but it was too low level. Hence, as Yi Mo's spirit controlled it, the flame struggled, but it was getting weaker and weaker. An hour later, Yi Mo had completely controlled the flame. He hadn't finished spirit controlling it, but it was no big deal for the moment. Seeing how winter's arrival had shrunk in size, Yi Mo's heart ached. For a long time, he wouldn't be able to rely on it for help. After putting winter's arrival away, Yi Mo focused on spirit controlling the Liege fire. The more he focused, the more he was shook. He realized that the flame wasn't a Liege fire, it was a mist lotus heart fire. The Liege fire was an earth fire, but the mist lotus heart fire was heaven fire. There was a core difference between the two. The mist lotus heart fire could rank number 3 among the 36 types of fire found in the cultivation realms. It was a legendary flame. Yi Mo wanted to scream in excitement. Out of the 36 types in the cultivation realm, 10 were heaven fires and the rest were all earth fires. There were countless cultivation realms in the universe, and the mist lotus heart fire ranked 3rd out of the 36 different flames. This was rather astonishing. Yi Mo had heard that on Luoyu continent, a fire element cultivator once got the extreme gung fire that ranked 4th. He was invincible amongst those on the same state. For some reason, this cultivator disappeared, and so did the extreme gung fire. Many people believed that the cultivator had caused too many carnages, and a lot of them wanted to hunt him down. Another reason could be due to the fire. Anyone would want such a high-level fire seed. The top 10 flames were all heaven fires. Its power was far from something earth flames could compare with. He also realized that if he had the mist lotus heart fire, he couldn't show it around. Otherwise, he would be dead for sure. If he got the Liege fire, he could use it for pill concoction. People usually didn't dare to touch a pill master with Liege fire. Even if he got abyssal earth fire, he would still be safe if he became a pill king. After all, it had still ranked 11th. It wasn't in the top 10. Revealing that one had a heaven fire would be a disaster. The mist lotus heart fire was not only a heaven fire, but one that had ranked in top 3. Yi Mo understood why Li Yuqian had thought of the flame was the liege of fire. They were quite similar. Both had a small gust of mist inside the flame. Yet the liege of fire only had mist on the outside of the flame. Once the flame got an orange color, it would gradually disappear. Meanwhile, the mist lotus heart fire was the opposite. It didn't have the mist to begin with and would only develop a little after reaching orange color. When the flame reached higher levels, the mist would become more and more condensed. Yi Mo hurried to spirit control the flame. His burst essence pill time had almost ran up. Just when he was about to spirit control the flame, he felt motion on his surveillance formation. Yi Mo didn't dare to look who was coming. He spat a mouthful of essence blood and forcefully spirit controlled the mist lotus heart fire. Then he ran out of the room without thinking twice. As soon as he did, he went into the golden page world. Then Yi Mo immediately took a stalagmite benefit pill to mediate the side effects. Song Yangzhu wasn't there after all. Chapter 879. The Secret Inside the Formation. Chapter 879. The Secret Inside the Formation. Yi Mo didn't have time to check the situation outside, and he just held onto the mist lotus heart fire. It was completely spirit controlled by Yi Mo now, so it became a pea-sized flame which floated quietly about Yi Mo's dantian. Yi Mo thought about this. An orange flame with some white mist appeared above his finger. The flame seemed peaceful and calm. Nothing like the deadly burning fury Yi Mo had unleashed before. It looked like cotton and it danced between Yi Mo's fingers. Yi Mo happily put away the flame and started to check his body. His body was completely ruined. His skin was charred and he had no hair. He had no more Lotus Life pills, but Yi Mo didn't worry. He had many other pills. He took a few cultivation recovery pills and took a shower with a water spell before putting on a clean set of clothes. Then he checked his charred hair and just shaved himself bald. Afterwards, Yi Mo looked at his surveillance formation. Rumble! As soon as his spirit sense went into the formation, a huge sound shook his formation. There wasn't just one person there. A black-faced man stood in the middle of the hill. He had short hair and a dark mole. Yi Mo was sure that he was the person he had seen on the flying cart. He felt uncomfortable just by looking at him. Yi Mo believed that if he stood before this cultivator, he might not even be able to move just from the power this cultivator was emitting. In front of the dark-faced cultivator, there was a skinny old man. His hair was white and his eyes narrowed into a line. He seemed very innocuous, but Yi Mo felt both were equally dangerous. There were tens of meters of distance between the two and a 10-meter deep ravine. Old man Sima Zhu, a few decades have passed and you're still at hollow spirit state, middle stage. That's quite unexpected. The dark-faced cultivator had no expression on his face. The skinny old man smiled. Likewise, Tong Wuxing, you're also at hollow spirit state, middle stage. Sima Zhu, cut the beat asteriskal shit. Where is it? Tong Wuxing said coldly. The old man sneered and took out half of a book. He then said, I brought it here, of course. Where is your thing? Tong Wuxing saw the book and looked desperate. At the same time, another half of a book also appeared in his hand. They both looked at each other's half with intense desire. They both smiled and put their half a book in a jade box. Then they moved a few kilometers back, set up a defense formation, and put the jade box inside. Yi Mo noticed that both jade boxes were filled with restriction, which meant that even if the other person got the jade box, one only needed to want it for the box, as well as its contents to turn into ashes. The two men were about to fight, and they had done this to prevent the box from getting harmed. Yi Mo could guess the story behind this. They had found a book together and fought over it, ripping it in half. In order to make the book become one again, they decided to fight to decide who could have it. Yi Mo also realized why that dark-faced cultivator had set up a few trap and attack formations. He was scared. He was no match for the old man. "Tong, don't make me disappointed this time." The old man sneered and waved his hand. A black gust of mist appeared, immediately reaching a 10 m circumference, and it approached Tong Wuxing. It was very fast, and it could expand. Moreover, it moved based on where Tong Wuxing was. Yi Mo saw through the surveillance formation that the mist was actually a net-shaped cultivation artifact. Although he couldn't feel the cultivation essence wave through the screen, he could tell that the net wasn't simple. It felt very eerie. Yi Mo even felt that the bleak net seemed to get more powerful in this place. If so, why had Tong Wuxing agreed to battle there? Tong Wuxing's cloak suddenly expanded. His eyes turned red. He weaved many hand signs, and instantly, tens of flying swords were shot out off his cloak. They soon turned into a sword formation, which attacked the net. More flying sword flew out of his cloak incessantly, as though he would never run out of flying swords. Clash! Countless bones on the ground were swept away and turned into dust in the collision with their cultivation essence. Such a powerful motion. Sima Zhu, you're so sneaky. You found an abyssal net cultivation artifact. No wonder you chose to settle things here. Tong Wuxing sneered. Sima Zhu sneered in contempt. Tong Wuxing, you're no noble gentleman either. You have probably set up a trap and attack formation here, right? What a pity. It's been so many years, and your formation skills are still the same. I'm really disappointed. Yi Mo heard this and was speechless. Both of their speeches were cunning as hell. However, Yi Mo was confused. With Tong Wuxing's knowledge of Sima Zhu, he shouldn't have used formations that Sima Zhu could see through to help him fight Sima Zhu. Tong Wuxing heard this, and his expression changed drastically, as though he hadn't expected Sima Zhu to be able to see through them. Tong Wuxing's expression looked very bad, and he attacked even harder. Meanwhile, Yi Mo found that the abyssal net seemed to be having the upper hand. Yet, Yi Mo felt something was missing. There was no way Tong Wuxing was this immature. Why did he use these formations to attack Sima Zhu, who understood about formations? Perhaps he knew he wouldn't be able to hide them from Sima Zhu beforehand. If so, why did he set them up? Yi Mo used his surveillance formation to check out Tong Wuxing's formations. He suspected that they weren't for Sima Zhu. After some time, Yi Mo noticed that these few formations were actually higher level than what he had thought. It was 1 trap and 3 attack formation. The outer kill formation had a hidden mechanism. If Tong Wuxing activated the outer attack formation and attacked Sima Zhu, the other 2 formations would immediately transform into a duplicate kill formation and a transmission trap formation. The duplicate kill formation was to attack Sima Zhu, but the transmission trap formation could instantly move the 2 jade boxes to his hand. Yi Mo realized that since Tong Wuxing dared to do this, he had a way to stop Sima Zhu from destroying the book. He wondered if the old man had seen through this. Yi Mo was expecting good show. Chapter 880. Why Not Steal It and Run? Chapter 880. Why Not Steal It and Run? Yi Mo saw through the mist that there were countless sword rays flashing through it. It seemed like the battle was at a stalemate. Yi Mo watched it for a while and found that his eyes couldn't follow their fighting marks at all. Hence, he changed his formation to watch the 2 books. Something that could get 2 hollow spirit state fighting shouldn't be a simple item. However, Yi Mo soon realized that he could only see the box, but not what was inside. If he wanted to see it clearly, he would have to use spirit sense. If he wanted to use spirit sense, he would have to leave the golden page world. He could only use the formation to see the outside world for now. Thinking that the 2 hollow spirit state cultivators were busy fighting, Yi Mo decided to put on 9 transformations and leave the golden page world. Those 2 cultivators didn't have the energy to mind him. It was fine for him to check the 2 books as long as his spirit sense didn't touch the boundaries of their battle. Yi Mo left the Golden Page world and waited for a long while. He hadn't noticed anything, so he carefully concealing his chi and extended his spirit sense to check the two books. Yi Mo knew that even if he used 9 transformations, it would be hard to trick a hollow spirit state cultivator. Hence, he could only put his hopes on the 3 birth chants stealth art. As soon as his spirit sense touched the 2 halves of the book, he was shook and immediately took back his spirit sense. He realized he had done something stupid. He was caught as soon as his spirit sense touched the jade boxes. He took back his spirit sense and immediately hid on the edge of the natural spirit sense barrier formation. Soon he felt 2 powerful spirit senses scan on the spirit sense barrier formation. So powerful, Yi Mo thought. Tong, there's actually a 3rd person here. You're really weak. Sima sneered. Tong Wuxing said coldly. Sima, old man, you didn't find him either. A mere foundation establishment state cultivator dares to scheme against me for this book. He's asking to die. Both of them knew Yi Mo was there, but they didn't care at all. Sima Zhu suddenly said, a mere foundation establishment state cultivator is hiding in a formation that even our spirit sense can't scan. It must be a natural formation. Usually these formations are created with rare treasures. Tong, how about I leave the natural formation and that foundation establishment state ant with you and you give me the book? No matter what's inside the formation, I won't take it. Also, don't worry, I'll carve a jade slip for you. The dark-faced cultivator smiled and seemed interested. At least his attack was slowing down. Yi Mo knew he had been caught, but he didn't dare go into the Golden Page world. If they found out that he disappeared, they would know he has a pocket world artifact. Such things were extremely valuable to even truth, realization state, cultivator. If he let get known it, he only needed to wait to get killed. Yi Mo had just scanned the book once, but he knew what sort of book it was. It was the most sought supplementary text. It was called Things. Yi Mo had scanned through the spirit herb section and seen that all the herbs had images and were explained in detail. It even showed its characteristics and how to cultivate them, as well as what sort of pills they could be made into. Yi Mo came from a herbal sect, yet by scanning the book once, he could tell that about 40% of spirit herbs in it he didn't know. Yi Mo could only imagine how quickly his pill concoction skills would skyrocket after obtaining this book. However, what got him most excited was the pill concoction recipes he saw under each spirit herb. The 3 birth chant was overpowered, but it wasn't easy to create his own pill recipe. Even if he could, it would be after countless trials, and it would waste countless spirit herbs and time. It was a heavenly big fortune. Spirit herbs were just a small portion of it. Yi Mo suddenly had a crazy thought. Why not just steal it and run? There was a knife in front of him and a knife behind him. Instead of waiting for death, he might as well fight for his life. With this thought, Yi Mo could no longer resist his crazy urge. He forced himself to calm down and look at the 2 cultivators fighting through the surveillance formation. The black mist had spread out. Yi Mo could barely see Sima Zhu's net. Meanwhile, Tong Wuxing's sword formation was also not as wild. They seemed to be about to stop. Yi Mo was shook. If they stopped fighting, he was dead for sure. What should he do? Yi Mo desperately wanted an answer. At this moment, he suddenly saw Tong Wuxing throw many formation flags and quickly weave a few hand signs. Yi Mo could tell that Tong Wuxing was about to activate the formation to steal the book. He was disappointed. Just when Yi Mo was about to run, he suddenly stopped and looked very excitedly. Sima Zhu hadn't disappointed him. After Tong Wuxing threw the formation flags, he also threw a few formation flags. The attack formation slowed down, and the transmission formation didn't transmit to Tong Wuxing, but to Sima Zhu. Yi Mo commended Sima Zhu's wits. He was sure that he had come to check the place after Tong Wuxing left. After knowing Tong Wuxing's plan, he decided to utilize it and make a few more formations on top of Tong Wuxing's formations. He had been waiting for Tong Wuxing to throw the formation flags so he could redirect the transmission to himself. Yi Mo realized that this amicable-looking old man was actually more bleak than Tong Wuxing. However, Tong Wuxing was confused because he was sure he could prevent Sima Zhu from destroying the box. Yet, how had Sima Zhu managed to get it? Sima Zhu, you old fart. You love to play sneakily indeed. Tong Wuxing was very angry and attacked with full force. More flying sword birthed from his cloak and joined the sword formation. Sima Zhu sneered, "You're no better yourself." The mist rose again, as though it wanted to cover the skies. Tong Wuxing saw the box nearing Sima Zhu, so he yelled, "Sima Zhu, if you dare rob it, I'll make my half turn into dust immediately." Yi Mo took out his formation. It was the best moment to attack. Chapter 881. The Foundation Establishment State Insect That Escaped. Chapter 881. The Foundation Establishment State Insect that escaped Yi-Mo was a very decisive person. He dashed out of the stealth formation immediately. As soon as he got to the Chongfen Hill, he felt a bone-etching killing intent and a rampant cultivation essence. He didn't even dare to look at the two men fighting, and he just threw tens of formation flags. If he activated these flags, the formation that Sima Zhu had modified would change again. Then Yi-Mo dashed towards the two jade boxes, protected by the restriction. Although Yi-Mo was as fast as lightning, he was still noticed the instant he came out of the formation. Seeing this, Sima Zhu laughed. He didn't even look at Yi-Mo and sneered, "This Wanbei is interesting." Tong Wuxing didn't look at Yi-Mo either. However, he sneered and changed his sword formation. "Old man Sima, why don't we kill this Foundation Establishment State insect first, and then fight?" Yet, Tong Wuxing kept putting pressure on the attack. Sima Zhu sneered and didn't even reply. With more cultivation essence input, the dark net became stronger and stronger. He was having the upper hand, and the transmission formation was transferring the two jade boxes to him. How could he stop fighting now? A Foundation Establishment State cultivator wouldn't even be able to touch the box. He would just get killed by the restriction outside. To them, Yi-Mo's actions didn't pose a threat. A Foundation Establishment State would be daydreaming if he thought he could open up restrictions set by a hollow spirit state cultivator. Even if there were no restrictions and they gave the two jade boxes to the Foundation Establishment State, he wouldn't be able to get out of the trap formation. Despite the trap formation having been transformed into a transmission formation, it still had the functions of a trap formation. It wasn't something a mere Foundation Establishment State could break through. Even if he could, the time it would take for him to do it was enough for the two masters to kill him countless times. Even if Yi-Mo instantly broke free the restriction and ran out of the trap formation, there were destruction restrictions on the box. Moreover, even if they didn't destroy the box, they could follow the jade box, which would lead to the Foundation Establishment State cultivator. No matter what, even if he ran for 5 days nonstop, a Foundation Establishment State cultivator wouldn't be able to escape the hunt of two hollow spirit state masters. Although they didn't care about Yi-Mo at all, Yi-Mo had instantly triggered their killing intent for daring to try to deceit a hollow spirit state cultivator for his belongings. Before Yi-Mo had even gotten to the restriction was ready to kill Yi-Mo under the control of the two hollow spirit states, cultivator's spirit sense. Yi-Mo was much better with formations than the two masters, and restrictions came from formations. He could tell he shouldn't forcibly open the restriction or he would lose his life. Yi-Mo didn't care about the restriction. He left behind the last formation flag. He didn't attack them because he had realized the two men didn't consider him a threat at all. If Yi-Mo activated the trap and destroyed the formation now, then perhaps the two cultivators would stop fighting and kill him instead. Yi-Mo went up to the restriction and reached his hand inside, grabbing the 2 jade boxes. Afterwards, he darted out of the hill right away. It seemed that the restriction in formation didn't affect him at all. The instant he got out, Yemo didn't forget to leave the activation formation flag outside the trap formation. If someone got out of the trap formation, it would activate the attack and trap formation outside. It all happened so fast that even the 2 hollow spirit state cultivators couldn't have predicted this to happen. Even though it was just a quickly made restriction, the trap formation Tong Wuxing had left wasn't weak. Yet he had easily escaped from it. Neither of them knew that Yi Mo had already studied this trap formation, so they were completely in shock. However, they didn't rage because they knew that no matter how far Yi Mo got, he wouldn't be able to escape as long as he had the jade box. Yi Mo immediately got on his flying sword outside the hill. He didn't use the flying pike, as it was easy to find out his identity through that. Moreover, he knew that no matter how fast he was, 800 to 1,000 kilometers was within the range of a hollow spirit state cultivator's spirit sense. On the flying sword, Yemo saw through the surveillance formation that the 2 cultivators were still fighting. He rejoiced. As long as he got out of their spirit sense range, he would be able to completely disappear. Old man Sima, the thing has been stolen. What's the point of you fighting with me here? Tong Wuxing was aware that Yemo wouldn't be able to keep it, but he still didn't feel happy about it. Sima Zhu nodded. Yes, although I'll get it back. It's angering that an insect took it. Okay, let's stop fighting and chase him. Whoever gets to it first takes it. Tong Wuxing happily agreed to this as he got on a flying cultivation artifact. Yi Mo noticed the 2 cultivators were about to stop. He tried his best to fly faster. The 2 men immediately headed out of the Changfen Hill. Sima Zhu was fast and Tong Wuxing wasn't slow either. As soon as they got to the borders of the trap formation, it suddenly got activated. The other 3 attack formations were also activated too. When the 4 formations got activated, even they were hindered for a few minutes. However, they soon broke free. They stared at each other, wanting to reproach the other, yet they realized that neither of them had activated the formation. Tong Wuxing grabbed a formation flag at the border of the trap formation, and his expression turned bleak. How dare you tamper with my formation, P** and K? There's not only a formation activation flag, but also a surveillance formation, F** CK. Sima Zhu laughed. Tong Wuxing had set up the formations, and not only he had used them, but the foundation establishment state cultivator had done it too. Yi Mo estimated that he was already out of their spirit sense range and got on the flying pike to reach maximum speed. At the same time, he placed the jade boxes into his golden page world. He was sure that no matter what spirit sense mark was on them, no one from outside would be able to scan it once he placed them in his golden page world. Not even a truth realization state cultivator. Yi Mo was outside of their spirit sense range, so he didn't keep running. He landed in a valley and went a few hundred meters underground before going into the golden page world. He was sure that after that great escape, not even a body condensation state would be able to find him. The only worry he had was that the 2 might have seen through his disguise. It was a very small possibility, but he didn't dare to be careless. Yi Mo was betting on the thought that the 2 hollow spirit state cultivators had considered him to be an insect and hadn't used their spirit sense to closely watch his face. Tong Wuxing and Sima Zhu had suddenly stopped talking. They had used their spirit sense to contact the spirit sense marks they had left on their boxes again and again in disbelief, but after a long while there was still no reaction. The 2 men glanced at each other and realized this was happening to both of them. HMPF, a mere foundation establishment state cultivator, dares to be this cocky. Tong Wuxing roared. Draw me a painting of him. How dare he steal things from me? He. He's got balls. Sima Zhu licked his lips. Chapter 882. Searching for a Place. Chapter 882. Searching for a place. Tong Wuxing heard this and immediately realized that Sima Zhu hadn't looked at the Foundation Establishment State cultivator carefully, just like him. His heart sunk. If he knew what Yemo looked like, he might be able to use his abilities to find this person. How were they supposed to look for Yemo when they didn't even know how he looked like? That Foundation Establishment State cultivator barely had any cultivation essence or spirit sense wave. It was very subtle, yet now it seemed intentional. Such means. Tong Wuxing sneered. Then he looked coldly at Sima Zhu. I just know that he was wearing a face-changing magic artifact. I really didn't look at what he looked like. He was a hollow spirit state master. Why would he look carefully at the face of a mere Foundation Establishment State cultivator who was about to die? Moreover, he was concentrated on the fight with that old man Sima. Sima Zhu heard this, and his expression also turned very bad. He was a hollow spirit state middle stage master, yet he had had something stolen in front of his face by a Foundation Establishment State insect. This was like a slap to the face. Sima Zhu sneered and didn't say anything. He took out a boat-shaped cultivation artifact and dashed away in a black ray. A cultivation artifact. Tong Wuxing saw this, and his expression turned bad. He hadn't thought that Sima Zhu also had a flying cultivation artifact. It was also low grade, but it seemed better than his. No wonder that old man had agreed that whoever caught the Foundation Establishment State insect would get the treasure. So this was it. He had been played by the old man twice and felt extremely unhappy. Luckily, there was a Foundation Establishment State that stole it from them, or the thing would be in Sima Zhu's hands by now. As long as it wasn't Sima's, he had a chance to get it. However, Tong Wuxing immediately thought of another problem. He had gotten the flying cart cultivation artifact from an auction. How did Sima Zhu have a black net cultivation artifact and a flying boat cultivation artifact? Had he found an ancient ruin or something? He chased after the direction of Sima Zhu had taken immediately. However, Sima Zhu simply returned to the Changefin Hill. He looked sardonically at the direction Tong Wuxing was coming from and scorned. Dark-faced idiot! You want to fight over things with me. Even without that Foundation Establishment State insect, things would have never been yours. So what if he took my book and avoided my spirit sense? If I can't even deal with a Foundation Establishment State insect, I would have lived these few centuries for nothing. Interesting. There's a natural formation here and a stone room inside. Sima Zhu suddenly paused and looked around. It's not natural. Someone set it up here. Who? Why did he do this? Sima Zhu looked around and suddenly dashed to the stone wall, grabbing a rock from behind the wall. He then put the stone inside his mouth. After a moment, he spat the rock out and stared at this wall in shock before saying word by word. There was a heaven and earth rare fire seed here. Who used a formation to put the fire seed here? Is it the abyssal earth fire? Sima Zhu was shook. He was more and more certain of it, as the place was full of yin qi, and it was the best kind of greenhouse for the abyssal earth fire. Sima Zhu suddenly took out an orange flame and thought about it in excitement. His Leisha fire ranked 29th in the cultivation realm. If he got the abyssal earth fire, which had ranked 11th, wouldn't he have the ability to reach Pilking? Pilking! Sima Zhu couldn't contain his excitement. He was more and more interested in that Foundation Establishment State insect. A Foundation Establishment State insect had managed to get the abyssal earth flame. If he got things too, his future possibilities were unimaginable. He. Sima Zhu smiled bleakly. Since he knew about it, that Foundation Establishment State insect's good fortune would be coming to an end. Just when Sima Zhu was about to leave, he remembered another rare fire seed, the mist lotus heart fire. It could also grow in places with abundant yin qi. The mist lotus heart fire not only needed yin, but also yin qi to upgrade. Sima Zhu was dumbfounded. If it really had been the mist lotus heart fire, he didn't dare to keep thinking. If he had to choose, then he would choose the mist lotus heart fire over a few books of things. It was a heaven fire. If he got it, he could even reach truth realization state. Thinking that the foundation establishment state, cultivator, might have taken away the mist lotus heart fire, Sima Zhu could no longer stay calm. He could feel his heart thumping like it used to a few hundred years ago when he was young. At that time, he had fallen in love with a martial sister from his sect. When he first gave her a present, his heart was thumping like now. At the time, his talent was poor. But that martial sister had great talent and became Tao partners with another core disciple. He had been rejected and left the sect to become a lone cultivator. However, his fortune changed, and he received a pill master's inheritance. He became a pill master, and his power also rose drastically due to his pill concoction skills improving. When he became a nascent soul state cultivator, the first thing he did was to go back and get revenge. His martial sister was already at golden core state, so he raped his martial sister in front of her husband. Her husband was so angry that he died from it, but he loved the satisfaction it brought him. He had never felt so happy before. Yet today, due to the mist lotus heart fire, he could feel that passion again. Perhaps he would be able to take it from that insect soon. Sima Zhu licked his purple lips. His eyes were full of greed. He looked around. He damaged the formation and the contents inside without hesitation. He didn't want any other person to know that there might have been a heaven fire there. Tong Wuxing got there not long after Sima Zhu had left. All he saw was ruins. The two cultivators believed that small foundation establishment state cultivator couldn't be more than 50,000 kilometers away from them. Since they didn't find EMO in a short time, they believed EMO was hiding near the Changfen Hill because only hiding could the two men not catch up to him. The two masters searched everywhere in a 50,000 kilometers radius. When they came across other cultivators and couldn't get an answer from them, they would cut their limbs off or kill them. Soon, the Changfeng Hill became a forbidden ground for cultivators because everyone knew two cruel masters were searching for something there. The two cultivators encountered each other a few times, but they never talked. They were very smart. Yemo was indeed hiding within their search range. Chapter 883. Abandoning the double-edged sword to start using the single-edged sword. Chapter 883. Abandoning the double-edged sword to start using the single-edged sword. Mo wasn't worried that the two masters would find him in the Golden Page world. His Golden Page world was hidden in the earth, and it was impossible to find it, unless they used spirit sense to look at that small block of earth specifically. The journey to Changfeng Hill had been full of dangers, but it had been very worth for Yi Mo. Seeking for fortunes in danger was a wise decision. He not only got the mist lotus heart fire, but also things. He had spirit controlled the mist lotus heart fire. All he wanted to do now was break the restrictions on the two jade boxes and study things. Yi Mo took out the two boxes and found they were covered with all sorts of spirit sense marks and restrictions. With one thought, they could destroy the box. These two cultivators were very calculative and selfish people. Yi Mo laughed. If the two masters hadn't fought and had agreed instead to give each other the other half of the book, everything would have been fine. But now it could only benefit him. There were a lot of restriction on the boxes, but it was no big deal for Yi Mo. It just took him half an hour to remove all the restrictions. He then took out the two halves of the book and burned the boxes away with his mist lotus heart fire. The book seemed to have been severed by something sharp. Yi Mo believed it had been torn apart before. The material of the book was very soft but sturdy. Yi Mo tried to tear it, and he couldn't. He fused the two halves together. He got immediately immersed in the vast array of knowledge inside. The spirit herb scroll, the ore scroll, the beast scroll, the spirit insect scroll, the fire seed scroll, etc. Yi-Mo scrolled through the book. There were tens of scrolls. Yi-Mo flicked it to the fire seed scroll and looked up the mist lotus heart fire. The mist lotus heart fire ranked 17th in the 108 fire seeds, ranking and 3rd in the cultivation realm. It was a rather good fire, even amongst the heaven fires. Yi-Mo liked it a lot. The more he understood about the mist lotus heart fire, the more he realized why it had appeared at the Chongfen Hill. It could upgrade through devouring Yin Qi. It seemed like someone had intentionally left it there for it to upgrade. Yi-Mo was confused. Why had no one gone to pick it up, even though it had reached orange color? It was either because the person had died or because he hadn't had time to do it. So Yi-Mo got to it before him. Regardless, Yi-Mo had spirit controlled the flame, and he wasn't going to give it back. Then, Yi-Mo flicked to the spirit herb scroll. Time flew by. 20,000 kilometers away from Yi-Mo, both of the cultivators felt the spirit sense marks and restrictions being destroyed, but they couldn't find the source. Their expressions didn't look very good. 3 days later, Yi-Mo had already roughly scanned through the book. He had looked at the spirit herb scroll very carefully, but he just vaguely remembered the other scrolls. After greatly increasing his knowledge, Yi-Mo had realized why there were so few level 7 spirit pill masters and above. Not everyone could get the 3-birth chant or things. It was pretty much an encyclopedia of cultivation. That's why the two men were fighting over it so desperately. He put away things, but he didn't leave the Golden Page world. Even though he had destroyed the restrictions and the spirit sense marks, he didn't put them in his storage ring as it came from hollow spirit state cultivators. He had to be careful. It had been 3 days, but Yi-Mo was certain that Sima, Zhu, and Tong Wuxing hadn't left yet. He took out the illusion Cloud 9 swords and started studying it. Yi-Mo had decided to change his main weapon of attack to a single-edged sword. His 3-birth sword ray was made for a double-edged sword, but he could change it for a single-edged sword. However, Yi-Mo wanted to combine the 3-birth sword ray and the illusion Cloud 9 strikes to form a new sword ability. He believes there were many similarities between the two attack techniques, so Yi-Mo wanted to melt the 3-birth sword ray into the illusion Cloud 9 strikes. Yi-Mo gave a new name to the illusion cloud's first strike, the illusion cloud essence binding sword. The essence of this strike was the same as the original movement. The sword Qi created from the illusion cloud was very extraordinary. It could be used to bind enemies. Yi-Mo was an expert in formations too, and he could feel that the first strike had an order. These orders were like a binding formation. The illusion Cloud 9 sword was a very direct attack. The first move wasn't to attack the enemy, but to seal of the enemy's retreat. It was very harsh on oneself and the enemy. Yi-Mo really liked it. The second strike was given the name of the illusion Cloud Division Strike. This move combined his sword ray so that after a sword ray was shot, it would keep dividing like his 3-birth sword ray. It was this strike that Yi-Mo felt was much stronger than the original move. The third strike was named the illusion Cloud Flying Whirl Strike. It was just like the original move. When using it, sword Qi whirlpools formed. The amount of whirlpools depended on the person's cultivation essence and spirit sense. The power of the third strike completely depended on one's cultivation essence. However, once used, its power also depended on the person's understanding of sword will. The deeper the sword will, the more powerful the sword. In a month's time, Yi-Mo had mastered the illusion cloud 3 strikes. However, Yi-Mo couldn't unleash the full power of the third strike, as he hadn't understood its sword will yet. But Yi-Mo knew there was no rush. He had decided to fully master the first 3 strikes before trying to learn the 4th strike. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.